liars caught on paternity court.
Who wants to go 30 years without knowing if they have a sister, a younger sister at that? I always wanted one.
This woman, this kind of woman, this kind of woman, this kind of woman, it's your husband's kind of woman.
I really didn't want part of.
I don't think you are the father. Wait a minute, what was the mistake?
A father was out to save his relationship with his daughter. For 30 years, Mommy Davis maintained one truth, but now she believed another. And Ms. Wandick got stuck between two parents. A good old paternity fight. Here we come.
Mr. Haggerty, you've opened your case in hopes of saving your relationship with your daughter. She has distanced herself from you, and you claim it's because her mother recently lied and claimed you are not her father. You plan to prove today what you've known for the last 30 years. You are her daddy. Is that correct?
That's correct, Your Honor.
Ms. Wandick, you say you are stuck between your parents.
Life was good for 29 years or so, and then bam! It wasn't anymore. Mr. Haggerty was quite upset with the baby mama. He called her a liar, and the daughter agreed to that claim as the two of them were now stuck in paternity limbo.
Lied to me, she lied to my daughter. When she first got pregnant, she said I was the dad, and after 29 years, I come to find out now that possibly that I'm not the father.
You've raised this beautiful young woman, and you've thought of her as your daughter and nothing else.
For the whole 29 years, yes, Your Honor.
And Ms. Wandick, you felt the same.
Yes, Your Honor.
Well, Mommy dearest, apparently had a change of heart after all these years. Guess she wanted to rip the skeletons out of the closet, and so she did. And she wasn't shy with the words either. But Ms. Wandick proved she was her daughter after all as well.
He's not. He was just a playmate, Your Honor. I mean, but I know who the biological father is.
Excuse me, Your Honor. She's saying that he was just a playmate, but how is that fair to this man and to me for her to be saying that he's just a playmate when from jump you led this man to believe that he was my father the whole 29 years of my life?
Mr. Haggerty wasn't ready to back down. Oh no. He brought along a witness, and she was Ms. Davis's sister. But she was here supporting the claim of the plaintiff. Now that's interesting.
Called me. She said me and Craig just got through doing, and she said I'm pregnant. And she told me and our family that Craig was Marzella's father.
Mr. Haggerty.
Mr. Haggerty.
She said it?
She said it.
She didn't name anybody else?
She didn't name no one else but Craig Haggerty. She looked just like him. She looked just like this man.
Better buckle up, people. We are in for some wild turns. Miss Wandick met a random stranger who claimed he was her father at 19 years old, and that man was still in her life. She didn't believe him initially, but after a while, she may have started to. But most interesting was the fact that the plaintiff had no idea about this development at all.
Did you have any idea about this other man?
No, I haven't. No, I didn't.
When did you find out about this?
I found out about this today.
Today?
Today, right now.
This court informed you that there was another man that could be your daughter's biological father.
Yes.
Who's saying he is her biological father.
Yes.
So you were never, Miss Wandick, you never told Mr. Haggerty that you had been spending time with this other man and having dinners?
No, Your Honor. I distanced myself from Mr. Haggerty.
This was getting us nowhere, unless Mommy Davis sheds light on how the heck this all became this complicated. Miss Davis was young and was already in a relationship when she met Mr. Haggerty, and he was too apparently. Let's hear their story.
Was your boyfriend the gentleman that came to Miss Wandick, your daughter, crying?
Yes.
So it's that man?
Yes. And Marzella was already conceived in my belly when I was playing with Mr. Haggerty. I was young.
Did you tell Mr. Haggerty that he was your daughter's father?
Yeah.
You told him that?
Yes.
Did you tell the other man you were in the relationship that he was the father too?
The other man already knew because he called it when Marzella was first born.
Mr. Haggerty came too well prepared, it seems. It was witness after witness. This time, she was Miss Wandick's sister, and she wholeheartedly believed the defendant to be her sister. She showed pictures of them and was visibly emotional and shaken by all this.
She looks like my dad. She looks more like my dad than I do. That's all I've ever known. Like when we were young, we dressed alike. She was with us for a while, so yes, I believe that's my sister, wholeheartedly.
Oh, so precious, y'all holding hands. I love that. And I could see throughout the testimony the tears coming down your eyes.
Oh, of course. It's emotional, you know what I mean? Like, who wants to go 30 years without knowing if they have a sister, a younger sister at that? I always wanted one, you know what I mean? So of course it's emotional.
Next up, we got to see Miss Wandick boldly answering the question about her mother's motivation regarding her change of heart after all this time. And that led to some emotionally packed drama right in the middle of the court.
Money. When this other man accumulated all this money, that's when she would say, that's who really your dad is. You need to get some money from him. So it was all about the money, because that's when she told me.
So when was this?
This was back in 2016, Your Honor.
This paternity saga had gone on long enough. Too much was on the line here, years of love and affection, and all the lies and dishonesty. Let's give these guys what they truly came here for, shall we?
Mr. Haggerty, you are not the father. Miss Wandick?
It had been settled 29 years ago.
The plaintiff got caught in a love triangle years ago, and the consequences of those actions have finally brought her here to court. For once and for all, Ms. Jackson wanted to prove to the defendant and his wife that he fathered Tanika, but they weren't buying that.
Ms. Jackson, you've dragged your ex-boyfriend to court to prove he fathered your 26-year-old daughter, Tanika.
Yes, Your Honor.
You claim he's denied her since birth because you were caught in a love triangle with him and his wife.
That's a lie, Your
Yes,
Honor.
Your Honor.
1 week ago, you reopened your child support case in which you state Mr. Brown owes you $20,624.08. Is that
Yes, Your Honor.
That's a lie, Your Honor.
That was one complicated situation. After all these years, the plaintiff reopened the child support and was ready to fight it out. While she claimed she wanted answers, Mrs. Brown claimed the baby mama was still after her husband.
Well, by Mr. and Mrs. Brown, they told me different stories that he might not be my father, but my mother always told me that.
She already
And so
know.
why, after
Yeah,
all these years, why do you reopen the child support case?
Cause she don't, cause
Your
my
Honor,
husband don't want her.
It's still going on.
She's still
For
after my
26
husband.
years, it's still been going on. These people been denying my daughter for 26
She don't know who her daddy
years.
is.
26
Your
years
Honor.
they've been
Hold
denying
on,
my...
ladies, give me a minute so I can process this.
Time to shed light on how this torrid love affair began. As it turned out, Ms. Jackson and Mr. Brown met at a bar and hit it off. But what she didn't know was that the guy was hiding some vital information from her.
And we started talking, we started dancing. He told me he'll be back. And when he left with his wife, Miss Brown. I asked him who she was. He told me if she was just a friend. So he came back to the club.
That night?
That night. We danced, we partied, and then we went to the apartment.
Is that an apartment?
Not
Yes,
mine.
it was
No, that's a
apartment.
lie. That's
it was
a lie.
apartment, Your Honor.
It wasn't
Whose
my
apartment?
It was the apartment. We was in the back of the room. She came in the door. She said, "Come on out, let me talk to you."
The story went from the bar to an apartment and then back to the bar real quick. Apparently, the apartment time came much later. Mrs. Brown already had an encounter with the baby mama, and in highly unpleasant circumstances.
The first time I caught them together was at the club. I couldn't find him anywhere. So I walked around the parking lot looking, he wasn't out there. He wasn't in the club. I said, well, there was one place he could be because his car was still outside. So I knocked on the door, the bathroom. So I knocked. I said, Dwight, I know you're in there. I said, open this door. He cracked it a little bit. So when I pushed it open, she in there, done him in the bathroom. But I told her, I said, you can go.
So you find him in the club in the bathroom?
Yes, ma'am.
It seemed Mr. Jackson was having his cake and eating it too. Yep, he was fooling around here and there. So not cool, man. And now he denied paternity. Even though at one point, him and Miss Jackson had lived together as well. With all this information, the daughter had enough and gave them a piece of her mind.
Do you remember being in a relationship with both of them at the same time, back and forth?
Yes, Your Honor.
You do. Were you sleeping with both of them without protection?
Yes, Your Honor.
So why do you deny that Tanika is your daughter if you know you've been with this woman over a span of time?
Well, Your Honor, I've seen too many things happen. Like one morning, I thought she was at work. Come to find out, she was out with another man.
Messy, and even more messy. That's what this situation was. The constant back and forth pattern that the baby daddy was pulling was bound to have drastic consequences, and soon it did. However, Mrs. Brown wasn't too sure about the conception timeline.
With this girl, he was in Jacksonville with me. He told me he hadn't been home in 2 months, Your Honor.
Just
Honor, we
He
back
was
and
with me.
forth, back and forth.
Your Honor.
okay, and so when he
During the
was
time.
away and with Ms. Brown, were you with anybody else?
No, I was in Albany, Georgia. I was staying
And
with
during
my
that
mother's
time, Your Honor, when
sister.
she-
He'll come to Georgia on Friday.
Dear Lord, the drama just kept adding up. By the looks of it, baby daddy had been a doting father initially. Yep, he was there at the birth and afterward even. In all this chaos, it seemed, Ms. Jackson left to mention a key piece of information about her life.
Was he at the hospital when she was born?
Yes.
No, he wasn't. No, he
came
wasn't.
in the hospital, Your Honor.
He
and
wasn't there when
asked
she was
me-
born.
He asked me where she was. The nurse brought her back in the room. He put the robe on her and he fed her. Not only that, Cajun, when she was born, he's shoot pool. He came by the
No,
house
she know
and
he
he
want
dressed
the
her
girl
up.
so bad.
He dressed her and carried her to the pool hall with her. He was happy with his daughter.
Next up was another round of varied narratives from these guys. Yep, they are full of it. Tanika brought out the birth certificate that listed the defendant as father, but minus the signature. Furthermore, Ms. Jackson had avoided the paternity test on numerous occasions. Sounds fishy.
That's a birth certificate that's a fake, Your Honor. That is a fraud. Her mama been lying to her, and she's sitting here and believing her.
No.
So wait, on this birth
2000
certificate, it does say Dwight Stanley Brown.
He named
didn't
me
sign
and he
that.
spelled the name.
He was with me.
These guys were ready to rumble, and none of them were backing down. Baby mama reopened child support, however. Mrs. Brown came with the evidence that she had been getting child support for a few years. Oh, yes.
He have already,
Let me see that, Ron.
paid $4,000 and
me,
$800.
Ron.
And you don't
Yeah.
believe he's the father?
No, ma'am. That's the money that he have paid for child support. That she said he was never on child support. He never did nothing for her.
You believe she's avoiding the DNA test because
Yes,
she's
ma'am.
getting this money.
I figured that she did that because she know that Tanika's not my husband's daughter.
Well, if the birth certificate wasn't enough, no worries, as the plaintiff had another card up her sleeve. Oh yeah, Ms. Jackson had a document to back up her claim, but the wife wasn't buying that either. Nope, not at all. Here's why.
This is a document signed by Dwight Stanley Brown.
Yes.
This is an acknowledgement of paternity.
That's not my husband's signature.
Signed the 24th day of
No,
September
he did write
1990.
his name. That is not my husband's signature there.
Well, during this whole case, it was the wife of the defendant that had been speaking on her husband's behalf, and she clearly wasn't a fan of the baby mama. She obviously put her at fault more, and that didn't sit too well with the judge.
But Ms. Brown, let me ask you this, because you keep saying this woman, this kind of woman, this kind of woman, this kind of woman. It's your husband's kind of woman. He been with her all this time.
I understand that too. I understand that too.
It's the same lady that's in your closet.
In all this chaotic mess, the most important key factor was missed, and that was Tanika. These guys just kept pushing her into the background, but she stood up for herself. Let's give her the answers she deserves.
Mr. Brown, you are her father.
Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus. Mama ain't got the laugh.
You forgive me.
I forgave you a long time ago, Dad.
A paternity mystery of 40 years. Yep, that long. Mr. Fagan had known for all this time that the defendant was his daughter and wanted to prove it today. However, Ms. Pinkston didn't believe his claim and was ready to prove him wrong.
Mr. Fagan, you're here to prove that Miss Pinkston is your biological daughter.
Yes, yeah.
You claim you kept this secret for 40 years, but now say the DNA will prove your case.
That's right, yeah.
Miss Pinkston, you stand before me without any doubt that Mr. Fagan is not your biological father.
Who would have thought that going to a friend's house would turn into the most shocking event of their life? That's exactly what happened to our plaintiff here. Oh, the drama. Ms. Pinkston had no clue what she believed for all these years was not the truth.
I met Mr. Fagan here when I was 16 years old. I never knew of him, never heard nothing about him. And then all of a sudden one day, my mom decided to take me with her to a friend's house. My mom calls me to the dining room. She goes, I want you to meet somebody. They get to talking to me, Mr. Fagan, and my mom. Then my mom just out says, hey, by the way, this is your father.
So how come Mommy Pinkston ended up cheating on her husband with Mr. Fagan? Apparently, these guys worked together for some time, and pretty soon their work time turned into playtime. Oh yes, and so the secrets.
We worked together at a plant. We got to know each other.
You spent a lot of time together.
Lot of
Because you
time
worked a
together.
lot of hours together.
Yes, we did.
Okay.
Your Honor.
Did you know she was married?
Well, yes, at the time it was wrong what we.
How long long did the affair last?
5 or 6 months, maybe somewhere.
Next up, we got to see the reason why the cat was out of the bag. They kept the secret for so long, so why did they decide to no longer keep it that way? Turns out, Mommy Pinkston tried to stop a Freudian nightmare from happening.
The only reason why was because my mom thought I was dating one of his family members, and that's why they told me. But needless to say, it was not me, it's my sister that was dating his family member.
Oh, and so they felt like they needed to tell you because you were dating your cousin.
Yes.
The worst day of the defendant's life was about to get even worse when she was told to keep this a secret as well. Yep, these guys had the audacity to ask a 16-year-old to keep her mouth shut.
16 years old, you were called upon to keep this secret as well?
Yes.
And you had to. You never spoke a word of it. You all asked a 16-year-old girl to keep a secret like that, Mr.
No, we did not. I did not ask her to.
Well, these guys were pretty good at burying the truth. And that too for all these years. Even Mr. Gus used to visit the family from time to time. And still, no one spoke a single word. Wow. But that certainly took a toll on them, that's for sure.
Mr. Fagan used to come to your house when your dad was alive?
Yeah.
I did. I did, Your Honor. I did.
But
as what? And what were you posing as? A family friend?
Family friend, that's what it was. The secret was still on.
The secret was still on?
Yes.
And so you just come by the house?
The plaintiff kept up with the charade till Miss Pinkston's father's demise. As soon as he was gone from this earth, all bets were off for him then. Guess he had enough of living a lie and took it upon himself to tell the truth somehow.
When you went to speak to the children, had you had a conversation with her first to ask if it's okay?
I figured it was already done, Your Honor.
No.
Through her.
You thought that there was a level of acceptance. You thought
from her too, telling them that I am her father and I am their grandfather.
Next up, an independent witness joined the court proceedings. Now, she was the defendant's sister. She ended up revealing what she knew regarding this huge paternity secret, but she also maintained that this should have stayed buried as it is. Alas, that certainly didn't happen.
You know, when grown-ups doing grown-up things and if they're with their friends and you know, sometimes people just talk and they think kids are back in the background. But it's not always like that. And I heard it, but I act like I didn't hear it.
What did you hear?
That Kitty was her father.
Who did you hear say that?
My mom and a couple friends.
Poor Miss Pinkston hadn't been able to catch a break for all this time. It was one heartbreak after another. It was established she wasn't close with the plaintiff and not a fan of him as well after this secret. But she was really close to his son, though.
You know, does he look like my brother? Is this really my brother? Or did you just accept him in your life as Mr. Fagan's son and...
I just accept him in his life. I've loved him. Not just I've just lost Mr. Fagan's son, I lost my brother too, 2 years ago. Now there's no more boys in our family.
The stakes were through the roof for both these families. A paternity secret of 4 decades was about to be resolved. All eyes were on the envelope containing the DNA results. We better put them out of their misery. So here goes nothing.
Mr. Fagan,
yes.
You are not her father.
Oh my God.
Oh, Lord.
Oh,
Oh, no. I can't believe this.
Didn't need to be known.
Yes.
A child who wasn't even born yet. Their paternity was on the line. Yep, Mr. Kiesel was pretty desperate to save his marriage and claimed paternity. But his wife, on the other hand, was out to break his heart.
Depends on today's paternity results after your wife announced that the child she is currently pregnant with may not be yours. You are here to prove you are the father and save your family. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mrs. Kiesel, you say it breaks your heart to stand in court to prove that your husband is not your unborn child's father, but you know the truth. Another man is.
Leave it to Judge Lake to ask the blunt questions. Apparently, the couple rushed into things pretty fast. First, it was their relationship, and then their marriage. Well, rushing into things headlong didn't get them anywhere, except to the paternity court.
The world would possess you to cheat on your husband 1 month after your wedding day.
We really rushed into a relationship. We had been dating on and off, but it was back and forth with my ex and him. We both have broke up a couple of times over while we were dating. And then when we got married, it just was kind of like a let's go do this kind of thing. It was like, let's do it today. So we did, and I just feel like we might have got married a little too young. Not necessarily young, but quick.
Rise and shine, conception calendar, rise and shine. After crushing her husband's heart, Mrs. Kiesel went to the emergency room to get tested. Now here, she got the conception window, and the dates she had been intimate with both guys were just smack dab in the middle of it.
And now, Mr. Kiesel, when were you intimate with your wife?
We were intimate on the 8th.
You were?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, so that's gonna be a K for Mr. Kiesel. I gotta ask you this, Ms. Kiesel, when were you intimate with your ex? Which day?
The 7th and the 9th.
Okay, so I don't think I have to say that these dates are very close in proximity.
Now, both of these guys were pretty positive on these dates. Baby mama was definitely having fun on these dates. However, she only recalled the fun with the ex. Yep, she had no memory of being intimate with her husband. Ouch. Now that's got to hurt.
Do you remember being intimate with your husband on March 8th?
I honestly don't remember, Your Honor. The only reason I remember the ex is because of it being on the day of the car wreck.
And then you remembered you'd also had sex with him 2 days before.
Yes, and he was not there on the 8th because he was working.
And so the truth is, you don't even remember being intimate with your husband on March the 8th, but you do remember sleeping with your ex on the 7th and the 9th.
The heart wants what it wants, I guess. Mr. Kiesel desperately wanted this baby to be his, so much so he had a list of similarities between him and the kid. One of these was the clubfoot. Even though Judge Lake clarified it through the doctor, baby daddy was still holding out hope.
From what I saw in the ultrasounds, I thought I saw the clubfoot. I see many resemblances between us and...
But have you been honest with yourself about these feelings you've had thus far? Meaning, I want the child to be mine. I believe the child is mine. But I do know for certain that there is a very real possibility that this is not my biological child.
I understand the possibilities. I want this child more than anything. We had been trying for a child and we finally got it. I missed one appointment due to work, and that's all I've missed. And I've been here every step of the way, and this is my child, and it needs to be my child.
The baby daddy was suffering. The baby mama wasn't able to enjoy her pregnancy. The baby, who wasn't even here yet, had their whole life on the line. Now that's too much to handle. So without further ado, let's get on with the results.
Mr. Kiesel, you are the father. I know that has to feel good.
I'm sorry. According to Mr. Pinner, Ms. Martin became wild after the birth of their oldest child, and because of that, he had doubts. Baby wanted to prove paternity to save the engagement, but Mr. Pinner claimed to be out the door the moment the results were not in his favor.
Making a huge mistake around the time you conceived your daughter, Royal Blue.
Yes, Your Honor.
You claim that one moment of weakness will cost you your fiancé if you cannot prove today that he fathered your child. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Pinner, you say you love Royal Blue and want her to be yours, but you already have 1 foot out the door and will leave Miss Martin if today's paternity results are negative.
It seemed the couple did continue living together, but just for the sake of it. They had lost the intimacy, obviously, once the doubts set in. The relationship was in tatters, and everything rode on the DNA results.
At this point, me and Romeo have no relationship because of the paternity of our daughter. I made one mistake back in the past that he knew about, and now he's claiming that he knows nothing about it.
The relationship is in turmoil.
Yes, he completely moved out of the bedroom. Like, he lives in my living room.
So, Mr. Pinner, you have 1 step out the door. You've already moved out the bedroom.
Yes, Your Honor.
And next you feel like it might be the home?
Oh, yes.
Altogether?
Yes, Your Honor.
The big mistake has been mentioned quite a few times now. It's only fair to get to the bottom of it. The defendant was more than eager for the plaintiff to come clean about her mistake. So let's dive right in.
Tell her about the mistake.
I'm going to tell her about the mistake. At the point in time, Romeo was doing him, as we say, partying, not coming home. I completely moved to Wisconsin with him. I even said, if I come up here for you, I'm about you, we're gonna do our family thing. And when I got up there, it went totally left.
That's
he
not true, Your Honor.
left me in the home by myself.
That's
It'd
not
be
true.
days at a time before I even saw Romeo. Okay, fine. You don't wanna come home? You don't wanna be a part of it? I'm gonna do my own thing.
Let the he said, she said battle commence. Clearly, these guys no longer trusted each other. One person's truth was another's lie. After Ms. Martin came clean to her fiancé, they agreed to move forward and let bygones be bygones. Well, that didn't happen now, did it?
I apologize for not being there, and I know I should have been there a little bit more. He was like, well, maybe He said, we'll just put this behind us so we can continue and go forward. And I'm like, okay. He agreed to move forward.
That's not true, Your Honor.
And you're sitting here lying.
It's true that I agreed to move forward after finding out that you was so irresponsible to have sex with somebody and not know who it is.
But the point is, I told you, you're acting like I waited a month later, and that is not the case. You are lying.
The point of the fact is she tells me that I'm not sure did I have sex with you before or after.
The million-dollar question was whether their relationship was already unraveled, or did the paternity doubt do it for them? Well, by the looks of it, it was already off the rails. Judge Lake pretty much summed up their whole story.
Listen. I already know what's going on here. I mean, this is easy. She moves to a different state, following behind you. When she gets there, you still out and about doing things. Then she get mad and get upset and decide, you know what, now I'm gonna try to go tit for tat. He out partying, he out hanging out, he don't wanna come home, I'll start partying. We hear this too much. And that's the thing I tell women all the time. We lose the tit for tat every time because you lose your senses and you do something stupid and you get pregnant.
What's done is done. Ms. Martin got pregnant, and that news wasn't taken too excitedly. According to baby daddy, he was along for the journey, but baby mama didn't agree with that version much. And here goes another round of bickering.
He participated for about 3 or 4 months.
That's not true, Your Honor.
And that was it.
That's not true, Your Honor.
He went to doctor's appointments with me, Your Honor.
Yes, I did.
Until I decided one morning, I woke up because he didn't come home. I packed everything I owned in that house and I went home. And it took him 24 hours to even realize I was gone. It took all I had to pack up my daughter, me being pregnant, and all my clothes to go home, to leave this man.
Well, Mr. Pinner strongly doubted the paternity of little Royal Blue. However, he claimed he was still a good father figure to him, but that doubt was just a thorn in his side that kept pricking him. Baby mommy, on the other hand, wasn't buying all this.
As I do my oldest child, I just want to know, so I can move forward.
But just don't play me in it, though. Don't act like I didn't tell you nothing.
I want to be a family.
Don't do me like that.
I want to be a family. I want to be around my
You want to be a
children.
family, but you're not trying. I'm steadily got my hand out reaching and trying, and you slapping
But
it
you
down.
lied to me.
I did.
And
whatever.
You made me feel stupid.
Keep playing it.
Both the baby mama and baby daddy blew this whole relationship up, and little Royal Blue was the real sufferer in this whole equation. Time to see whether the baby gets to have a father or this whole relationship gets completely off-railed. Completely off-railed.
Mr. Pinner, you are the father.
I'm so sorry.
It's finally over.
I'm so sorry.
I love you.
Love you.
Can I move my stuff back in the room now?
Stop the nonsense.
But you just said that I want you. You said that I want
you. End of the day, that baby's looking right at you.
Where I had slept with another man.
She told me to say that my son was dead.
Pouncing around and bouncing that hair and acting crazy.
Judge, please. Please, Judge.
You live in that typical homegirl life.
How is it just my fault?
I never got to achieve mine. Because every time I brought it up, it was always, oh, I know she's mine.
We were never together.
It was definitely going to be a heated courtroom with these two involved. From their faces, you could already tell they wanted to fight each other over everything. Miss Haysbert was suing Mr. Howard for a paternity test because he had wronged her in so many ways. First, she claimed he never provided for them and also never paid child support for the upbringing of the child. Secondly, she claimed he left her baby and decided to father another woman's child after lying to her that he had plans to get married to Miss Haysbert. I told you it was going to be intense.
Ms. Haysbert, you are suing the father of your 6-month-old son for a paternity test. You claim the defendant, Mr. Howard, has never financially supported baby Ricardo Jr.
Yes.
You also state that he once led you to believe that he wanted to marry you and even asked you to have his baby.
Yes.
But once you were actually pregnant, you say he abandoned you and has since fathered another baby.
Their relationship started at work. They were particularly high school sweethearts. From co-workers, they became friends, and from there, things got pretty intimate between both of them. The crazy thing was, she knew he had a girlfriend, but she just didn't care about any of that. Mr. Howard was completely speechless when she narrated her story, but he was going to keep quiet for much longer. He wasn't going to let her have all the fun as she told her own side of the story.
Co-workers, and then after that, we became friends. Like, we used to chill with each other outside of work. It was to the point, like, when something was wrong, he came to me. After that, you know, we started having sex and we got drunk. So, yeah, we got drunk and had sex, and that's how I conceived my son.
Got drunk and had sex?
After that, like, I knew he had a girlfriend, and, you know, I didn't mind because we were just friends. Then it came to the point where he told me, because when she was pregnant, when, you know, we first started hanging out.
Miss Haysbert had quite a lot to say about the whole situation. It was almost as if this wasn't her first rodeo. It was either that, or she had been rehearsing for this moment all her life. She told her story without making any errors, and Mr. Howard was surprised at how she just kept talking. She claimed that Mr. Howard wanted her for just the baby since his girlfriend at the time had a miscarriage. He seemed pretty excited at first, but after a while, he became a totally different person towards her.
Once I got pregnant, and I told him I was pregnant, he acted like he won the lottery. He was so excited. Oh, Junior, oh, I can't wait for you to have my son. He was so excited.
Where the money at? Where's the money at if I won the lottery?
As soon as my 5th or 6th month of pregnancy, he wanted to change up the tables. He wasn't there. He didn't even come to the doctor's appointment.
At about 6 months. She's alive.
Yes, and that's when the girlfriend started calling my phone, telling me, oh, they're still together.
It was time for him to speak, and the first thing that jumped out of his mouth was the fact that Miss Haysbert was a clown. He said she knew how to lie pretty well, and everything she said had been built all in her head. With the way these two get throwing jabs at each other, it was pretty difficult to determine who was saying the truth or how they even ended up having sex in the first place. He told the court that he did want to take care of the baby when he found out. So where did the denial come from if he wanted to take care of the baby?
I was like, oh, you pregnant? Okay. And she was like, what you gonna do? I said, I'm a man up. I'm a man about mine. I'm gonna take care of it. I don't know why she lied in court, but she knows that I'm a good guy. I didn't try to do all types of things. I didn't try to take care of my son, ask for a DNA test.
No, he didn't.
She didn't want to give me a DNA test.
Okay, so now I'm trying to understand your point. She told you she was pregnant.
You could see the feeling of betrayal in her eyes. She couldn't understand why Mr. Howard was denying her and the baby. In the initial stage, he loved being around her and the baby. She recalled times when he would show up at her place and come to play with her and the unborn child. He even gave her belly rubs to pamper her and make her feel like the woman he wanted to marry, at least so she claimed. The question still remains, where did it all go wrong?
She said like
he came over my house. He used to rub my belly and tell my son, and while he was in my stomach, oh, I will never leave you. I will always take care of you. I'm gonna always be here for you. But he's lying because he hasn't been there at all.
You crazy. I've been buying this stuff and you've been pushing nothing but stuff away.
First of all, you gave my son hand-me-downs. Do you think he about to wear that?
Hand-me-downs?
I bought my son stuff. I've been buying him stuff.
Why would I give my son hand-me-downs? You crazy.
You bought him hand-me-downs.
She crazy, Judge.
I
would never buy my son no hand-me-downs.
To tell you how serious she was, she had proof. If this was a situation where Mr. Howard would end up in jail if found guilty, with the evidence she had, he was going to be doing some serious jail time. She had proof showing the countless number of times he told her he loved her, and how she and the baby meant everything to him. Even with the evidence right in front of his eyes, he still denied her and said she was making the stories up.
Love you, babe. Kiss my son for me.
Kiss my son for me.
You're acknowledging him. How you going to deny him then acknowledge him? What? Thank you very much.
Okay, since we got so much about my son, since you trying to make it seem like I'm just a bad guy and all this stuff, won't you see?
You have a call.
Won't you see?
When he was in the hospital.
Won't you see the text message that she wrote me and said that my son was dead?
But Mr. Howard had his own proof to present to the court. His proof was turned tables in that courtroom. She claimed that Miss Haysbert also sent him a text informing him that his son was dead. Her name wasn't present in the chats, but he knew in his mind that she was the one playing games with his mind. Weck that explains why he has so much doubt about being the father of the child. If you got a text informing you your child was dead, wouldn't you get suspicious? I most definitely will.
About a baby passing away.
Your Honor, that don't have anything to do with that.
No.
No, I don't know anything about that.
What do you know about it?
I don't know anything about that. Kiana called me the next day saying, oh, Ricardo wants to know if his son is dead. And I let her know if something was to happen to my son, I would not let him know for the simple fact he's not there for him. He has no right to know what goes on in my son's life.
But you just said that I want you. You said that I want you.
These two were never going to find a common ground. All they wanted to do was yell at each other playing the blame game while a child was in the middle of their drama. The judge got tired of their drama and decided to bring out the results of the DNA test. Let's see who has been telling the truth and who has been fooling the court.
Mr. Howard, you are his father.
To death do us part, boo.
All right, I'm gonna
so
be a
it
man.
is what it is.
I'm gonna be a
don't
man.
call my phone. Don't
I'm
have
gonna be a
that
man.
little wench
I'm
over
gonna be
there
a
on my
man.
phone
I'm
or
gonna be
text
a
my
man.
phone. You will never see him.
I'm gonna be a
Never.
man.
I don't know why. I don't know who hurt you in your past. I don't know what bad relationships you've been in or where you were in your life to where you fell for that okie doke.
Mr. Lee's mom had all her hopes tied to the results of this paternity case. It was either her wishes came true in the courtroom or she went there to have the worst day of her life. Apparently, there was a baby on the line, and Mr. Lee's mom was definitely not ready to believe the baby belonged to her son. Miss Longshore, on the other hand, was full throttle on the fact that Mr. Lee was the father of her kid.
Miss Johnson, you have brought your teenage son to court to get the results of a paternity test to prove that he is not the father of the defendant's son, Caden. You say you've always had big plans for your son's future, and you're concerned that if this child is his, those dreams may now never come true.
Miss Johnson, who happened to be Mr. Lee's mother, started by talking about how she uncovered the deeds that were happening behind her back. Not just behind her back, but under her roof. She got a text from Miss Longshore explaining that she had a sexual relationship with her son, and that he could most likely be the father of her child. Well, so she thought at least.
She had informed me that they had sexual relations at my home when I was at work.
And then she also obviously indicated that she thought your son was the father.
Initially, she thought somebody else was.
Okay.
Well, that's what you told me, and I have the
It
Facebook
was-
message right here.
It was between.
Jerome, will you please hand me that piece of evidence? Thank you.
See when it started off?
Miss Johnson sure had a firm grip on her son. It was finally time to tell his side of the story and how things really played out. His story was the complete opposite of what Miss Longshore claimed to have happened. It was now a question of who was really telling the truth. Now that's not even the mind-blowing revelation, because it gets even spicier. Mr. Lee says she told him she was pregnant but wasn't sure if he was the father. These stories just don't check out.
Speak up, son.
Well, I talked to her on Facebook, like we had a conversation on Facebook, and at first she was telling me like, oh, I'm pregnant, but I don't think you're the father. I had sex with other guys, it shouldn't even be you. And then afterwards, after the baby was born, she was like, oh, don't worry, it don't look like you're not the father. So I wasn't even worried.
I never said that. I told you plenty of times Kaden looks just like you. Why are you lying in court?
No, you
Please
never
stop.
said that.
Apparently, these two had been fooling around since high school. Miss Longshore claimed she was just with him for the sexual aspect of the relationship. Mr. Lee, on the other hand, believed Miss Longshore's intentions were never for them to get into a serious relationship. Well, at least they both agree on one thing. It was never meant to be a serious relationship.
We went to the same high school.
Okay.
We were never together. It was a friendship type
was
thing,
a
and we ended
one-night
up having sex
fling
one
type
day, and I got pregnant.
Where's
we
the
were
house
never
full of people,
together.
Judge?
We weren't.
And it wasn't like we ended up having sex. She was coming after this. This was not
You got
at all.
I was coming after that.
Yeah, she was
That
checking
is
on
what
me.
he-
It wasn't
Wow, I was
Okay.
coming after that. That's crazy.
Well, if this baby ends up being yours, it's gonna be checking on you too.
Miss Johnson was upset. She was really upset. She felt the baby coming into her son's life would ruin his plans for a bright future. She didn't want him to go through so much headaches before he made something of himself. Well, newsflash, Miss Johnson. Your son was the one who got into a sexual relationship. It sure seems like he wasn't thinking about his future.
Whatever I gotta do, I'll do it. Because I want him to finish college. I want him to go. I want him to achieve his dreams. I never got to achieve mine, okay? And I want that for him. So it's not that I don't understand the struggle, but I know you gotta work at it. Ain't nobody just gonna give you nothing. And there's no reason for me to just accept a child when he was 5 months old when I got the Facebook.
Now, in Mr. Lee's defense, he said he knew nothing about the baby. One moment she was fine and okay, and the next moment she texted him out of the blue and said she was pregnant. Well, at least that's how he put it. Miss Longshore had something totally different to say. She tried reaching out to Mr. Lee several times to talk about the baby, but he turned into a ghost. She couldn't get a hold of him anywhere.
We never even saw her pregnant. We never saw pictures of her pregnant. It was like just a baby out of nowhere.
What? Pregnant. You were tagged in my sonogram before you deleted me. What are you talking about?
You never added me.
Beyonce was.
You never added me.
Yes, I did.
I never saw a sonogram. I've never seen you on Facebook. I don't know what you're talking about.
We can get some order in the court.
Please,
we're
say
tagging people in a sonogram now.
Judge,
I've
please,
never
can
seen
I
a
say
sonogram.
something?
Miss Johnson proceeds to detail how much she suffered while she was growing up. Things weren't easy, all right. She went through so much to get to where she is today, and that's all she was trying to do for her baby boy. With the way she spoke, you could tell she was definitely not going to allow anything to ruin her son's life, even if it was a baby. Or should I say, most importantly, if the baby was not his.
Growing up.
My mother had some substance abuse issues, but she's made great strides to improve and change her life. So I know it can be done.
With her mother as an addict, like she raised her siblings, she raised all her brothers, and I was raised up with them.
So you know your mother's a very strong woman.
Yes, I do, Your Honor. I know
And-
she'll do whatever it takes just to get us fed.
And you also know how much she wanted.
All this talk about Miss Johnson wanting the best for her son was getting on Miss Longshore's nerve. She got angry in almost no time, and she decided to air out how she was feeling. She started by accusing both Mr. Lee and his mom of making her look like a bad person. I mean, they both had a sexual relationship, so why are they making it look like she was the only one who was interested in the relationship?
You're making it seem like this is just
Look,
me or something.
there wasn't no
Like,
game on.
how is it
You
just
know-
my fault? How is it just my fault? You had sex with me too. I didn't have sex with myself. Like, come on now, get it together. Why did you think smart enough
when
to
you're
put a
gonna come
condom
over
on.
every day
I don't
and
walk
just
around
throw
with
it at me,
condoms.
I can't say no forever.
No,
if you're gonna come over every day and just throw it at me,
I didn't
like,
come
oh,
to
you
your
want
house
some?
every day, so stop lying. Stop trying to make me seem like I'm a hoe because you got it all twisted.
Now Mr. Lee has a new perspective on his story. Talk about someone playing the victim. He claimed Miss Longshore seduced him into having a sexual relationship. He even claimed he was still a virgin when she started to make sexual moves towards him.
Like, I never met any of her family. I never went to her house. I didn't even know where she stayed
You
at
haven't met any of
until
my
she came
family?
over.
You haven't met none of my family. You didn't meet my brother who went to the same
Miss
school as us?
Longshore, let me ask you this,
Come
Miss
on now, get
Longshore.
it together.
So you two weren't even dating. You were saying you were just friends.
Yes.
And that's what I thought.
Did you want to be more than a friend?
I did like him, and he needs to stop acting like he didn't like me back, because you was telling everybody at school that you liked me. So stop acting like you didn't. Stop acting like it's just me, dude.
The atmosphere was getting too heated for the tantrums that were coming from both sides. The only thing that could smooth the air was the DNA results. Would Miss Johnson's dreams for her son be shattered?
Mr. Lee, it is without question you are Caden's.
I told you! Told you! I ain't got nothing left to say. Told you! Nothing left to say. Nothing left to say. Kiss my...
Can I see my grandchild, please?
Jerome!
Do you know that feeling when your best friend goes running to your boyfriend to tell them all about your different escapades with other men? Well, Miss Stremke knows that feeling very well. Her friend told her partner, Mr. Jaramillo, about her different trysts with other men. And now Mr. Jaramillo doubts that both of his children by Miss Stremke are his. And oh, Mr. Jaramillo had a threesome with Miss Stremke and his best friend, and it was unprotected, and there was a baby born out of that incident. Of course, Mr. Jaramillo says that child isn't his as well.
Parents present at different times, we were denied. I feel like they can't trust their dad because he denies that he's their dad half the time. And my 4-year-old Naviana knows. She can hear the, well, I'm not her dad anyway. And it just gives her doubt. And when she looks at her dad, there's not gonna be respect there. I can't expect her to do what he says if he's gonna say, I'm not your dad. She's 4 years old and she's smarter than most 4-year-olds. She knows.
That's right, Miss Stremke. Children are extremely perceptive, and you don't want your child growing up in that sort of situation. Mr. Jaramillo says this is regrettable, but he really can't do anything about it since the paternity issues get brought up in fights. You know what you can do about that issue, Mr. Jaramillo? Stop fighting with your partner in front of your kids. It solves all of your problems quickly.
I had just gotten out of a relationship with my son's father and had moved back to Iowa. Well, I ended up where I had slept with another man. And this is before me and Mr. Jaramillo had gotten together. But it was very, very shortly after that we got together. And it was like maybe 3 or 4 weeks that I found out I was pregnant after we had first slept together, and he got a phone call from a girl that I had went to school with.
Now, Mr. Jaramillo hadn't met this friend before, but he believed every word of what she said. Miss Stremke, of course, knew the friend in question and argued that it was all a lie.
Which I really don't understand, because how can you base your daughter's paternity off of some girl you had never even met?
Well, it was one of your friends, you know. You'd spent time with her.
What did she say to you exactly, Mr. Jaramillo?
She said that the baby that Miss Stremke has been impregnated with wasn't mine, that she had been sleeping with numerous males.
Another thing is that Miss Stremke and Mr. Jaramillo had only been together for about a month before Miss Stremke told him that she was pregnant. To make things worse, Naviana was born about 3 weeks early, which makes it seem like the child truly doesn't belong to Mr. Jaramillo. Instead, it's for the man Ms. Stremke slept with before meeting him.
So in addition to the phone call, then she was born 3 weeks earlier than expected. So if you counted back 3 weeks, that's about the time when
That was about the time that the other males were present.
I was upfront with you and told you that there was one other person before we had gotten together.
You said one other person, and then came another fellow that your best friend told me about.
I had never slept with anybody but one person besides you, and that was before we had gotten together.
What about the second daughter? What doubts does Mr. Jaramillo have about her? And exactly how did he get those doubts? The answer will probably surprise you.
And then it was maybe a couple weeks later it got brought up, it'd only be fair if we had a male, and you. So I said, okay, all right, that's fine, it's something new and everything. And I had changed my mind on it and decided, because I have so many body issues, not in the way I look after I've had a child and everything, that I decided no. Well, he persisted and kept bringing it up, and he ended up bringing his friend over.
Mr. Jaramillo's friend didn't come over for pancakes. He came over for a different sort of cake. Mr. Jaramillo invited his friend to have intercourse with his wife, and none of the 3 people involved used any sort of protection. Imagine if they did. It would have protected both of them from showing up in paternity court today.
It was a mutual suggestion between Amber and I. We had gone through it back and forth between Miss Stremke and I. It was a toss-up back and forth. 1 minute she'd want to do it, the next minute she didn't. And from being with Amber, I know if she's gonna do something, it has to be on the spot. So to get it done and over with, yeah, I did bring this friend of mine.
Look, if you want to spice up your marriage, here's some good advice. Don't invite other people into it. If you want to get more excitement in your marriage, go see a movie, get on a jet, and go for a vacation. Don't invite your buddy into your bedroom and then not tell him to use a condom. Anyway, let's find out who the real father of the child is.
Mr. Jaramillo, you are the father. Mr. Jaramillo, you are the father. You look so relieved.
I am.
The fact that having sex without protection and inviting other people into the relationship, it's not monopoly. It's not better with more people.
And then she starts, dancing a little bit and then starts flashing her boobs. And
No one did.
Wait, what?
Yes, you did.
That's a lie.
Yes, you did.
I don't believe I'm the dad. I do question the way that she lives her life. I mean, it's reckless.
Reckless?
Yes, that's how I feel. Every time we have an argument, her husband's got to be in it. I mean, come on now. She'll lay in the bed on the phone and cry to her husband and tell him how bad I am.
To the doctor's appointments, he was there for everything. And now all of a sudden, oh, I'm not the daddy. Well, who's the daddy? Jesus? Because I didn't sleep with nobody else.
No, I can tell you who the daddy is, Mark Schwartz.
What did she tell you when you asked her?
She said that she had slept with someone else.
This case presents itself as one of the most unusual and intricate scenarios ever encountered in paternity court. Ms. Schwartz asserts that the defendant, Mr. Hatton, is the father of her 9-month-old child.
Ms. Schwartz, you opened your case to prove to the defendant that he fathered your 9-month-old child, Azalin.
Yes.
You understand his doubt, but state he is her father. Is that correct?
Yes.
The proceedings commence with Mr. Hatton suggesting that Ms. Schwartz undergo a polygraph test to verify her honesty regarding her extramarital affairs.
We have 2 other children together, and he fathers them. Little Azalin is left out.
And you can feel that difference.
I feel my daughter's pain whenever she looks up at him, and he'll be there with her while I'm at work and things like that, and other family members are taking care of my child, and he wants nothing to do with her.
It is important to note that she is a married woman, which complicates matters further, as their relationship is already classified as an affair.
I don't believe I'm the dad. I do question the way that she lives her life. I mean, it's reckless.
Reckless?
Yes, that's how I feel. Every time we have an argument, her husband's got to be in it. I mean, come on now. She'll lay in the bed on the phone and cry to her husband and tell him how bad I am.
As previously mentioned, the complexity of this case is evident. Ms. Schwartz expresses her distress over Mr. Hatton's denial of the child, especially since they share 2 children together.
What was the nature of your relationship?
Okay, the nature of our relationship wasn't good. Okay, it was bad. It was rough. It was rocky road. We were fighting every day. I could say something and then she's gone. That's what she.
So how long was she gone when she'd leave the house?
Like 2 weeks at a time.
2 weeks?
Yeah.
The situation becomes even more bewildering as Miss Schwartz is depicted as lying in bed, conversing with her husband about her grievances regarding Mr. Hatton. The judge's visible reaction underscores the absurdity of the claims being made.
Were you involved in the pregnancy when Azalin was born? Were you there when
I was involved in her pregnancy, even though I don't think the child's mine.
He went to the doctor's appointments. He was there for everything. And now all of a sudden, oh, I'm not the daddy. Well, who's the daddy? Jesus? Because I didn't sleep with nobody else.
No, I can tell you who the daddy is, Mark Schwartz.
Mr. Hatton's demeanor suggests a comedic element as he humorously questions the paternity based on the fact that Miss Schwartz tends to return to her husband during disputes.
When Azalin was born, the day she was born.
Man, she wanted me to look between her legs and pull the baby out. I ain't no doctor.
You didn't want to see that. And there are a lot of dads that can't see all that.
Because how my daddy raised me, no, there's things for a man to see in this world, and there's things that a man shouldn't see, and that's one of them.
Miss Schwartz maintains that Mr. Hatton is the sole man with whom she has been intimate, firmly believing he is the father of her child.
When me and her first got together, she was coming uptown where I'm at to stay with me a few days and sleep with me and then run back to the country to him where she was living and raising her family with him and him not even knowing it.
Oh, no, he knew it.
Hug.
Mr. Hatton informs the courtroom that following the birth of the child, Miss Schwartz assigned her last name to the baby, but declined to include his name on the birth certificate.
Tell the court about your relationship with your wife.
She cheated on me with Mr. Hatton and multiple others.
At one point, I contemplated whether they would acknowledge the impropriety of their actions. This situation is unfolding while Miss Schwartz is married. It raises the question, who behaves in such a manner?
Do you believe Mr. Hatton is Aslan's biological father?
There's a possibility, but there's probably a possibility of other gentlemen.
Is there a possibility that you're her biological father?
No.
Yep, there is one possibility that another man is my daughter's father, and that's God himself, because he's the only other man in my life.
Miss Schwartz's husband has indicated that Mr. Hatton, along with several other men, may potentially be the biological father of her child. We shall await the DNA results to clarify this enigma.
Pertaining to whether Mr. Hatton or Mr. Schwartz is the father of 9-month-old Aslan Hatton, the biological father is Mr. Hatton. She is your daughter, Mr. Hatton.
Mr. Evans asserts that his association with the defendant was merely a brief affair lasting only a week, leading him to believe he cannot be the father of her child. Conversely, Miss Snyder is confident that the DNA test results will confirm Mr. Evans as the child's father.
Mr. Evans, you say you're certain this is not your child.
I'm absolutely certain.
Explain.
So the baby doesn't look like me from the get-go. Like, she doesn't have my nose, she doesn't have my eyes. Like, I would see, features, that would resemble me. And she doesn't look anything like me.
At the very least, Mr. Evans expresses his willingness to support the child should the results indicate he is indeed the father. His skepticism arises from the observation that the child bears no resemblance to him.
So I was downtown playing drums, and so she walks up to me, and I see her, and she's, looking at me, and I'm just like, okay. And she's like, starts giving me those eyes, and I'm like, okay, I know that look. And then she starts, dancing a little bit, and then starts flashing her boobs. And
no one did.
Wait, what?
Yes, you did.
That's a lie.
Yes, you did.
This situation is certainly unusual. While it may be acceptable for him to receive a playful glance while drumming, the act of flashing him and performing a dance crosses a line.
So then I get a phone call from my ex saying that she's at my house right now. She brought a guy over because he lost his job, he needed a place to stay, and it was the only place that she can think of to bring him. And I'm just like, okay.
It is amusing to hear, yet one cannot fault him for such thoughts. If a woman were to flash you and initiate a dance, it is reasonable to assume that the situation could escalate unexpectedly.
We go to the bed, and her and I are, in my room, and Miss Snyder comes in the room, and she gets in the bed with us. Well, I'm talking to my ex at this point. Why aren't you out there with him? Because you brought him here. She's like, well, I'm not sleeping out there with him. I'm sleeping here with you and her. And I was just like.
Mr. Evans claims that Miss Snyder and his former partner were vying for his attention while he passively observed their altercation.
I'm just like, I'm thinking in the back of my head, like, this is amazing. I can't. I'm excited, so I'm just like, I want to get control of the situation.
Okay.
And so I'm talking to my ex. I'm like, you've had me long enough. You need to learn how to share.
He suggested they play nice as if they were children. Such levity has led him to this predicament, and it appears he will soon learn that indulgence often carries consequences.
So you had sex for a week, Miss Snyder, with Mr. Evans?
A couple times during the week, yes, ma'am.
And you were there all week?
Yes, Your Honor.
And so therefore, that's why you're saying he's Lainey's biological father?
Yes, Your Honor.
Judge Lauren articulated the situation perfectly. How is it possible for two individuals to meet for the first time and immediately engage in intimate relations? What is even more astonishing is their choice to forego protection.
I went to Colorado to go get a job, and I came back a week later, and before I left, we had met up one last time, and we had sex that night as well. And I didn't use protection.
During his absence for that week, he seemed preoccupied with the thought of returning to share a bed with the woman he encountered on the street while playing the drums, which is quite amusing.
So, Mr. Evans, take me to the day you find out Miss Snyder is pregnant.
Okay, so I'm in Colorado at this point, working, and she calls me in between July and August of 2018, and I get a phone call from her, and she told me that she was pregnant.
While Mr. Evans was away for work, Miss Snyder reportedly contacted him to inform him of her pregnancy. He assumed that the child was his, as he believed he was the only man with whom Ms. Snyder was involved at that time.
Did you ask Miss Snyder if she'd been with anyone else? Or could it be anyone else's baby? Did you ask?
After the fact, yes. After I saw her, I did.
What did she tell you when you asked her?
She said that she had slept with someone else.
What did she convey to you when you inquired? She mentioned that she had been intimate with another individual. I had a strong suspicion that she had indeed been with someone else.
So, well, this court did track down that other man because we wanted to hear his side of the story. And he sent in the following statement. I admit sleeping with Amanda, but I did use a condom. The condom did not break, so I know that baby is not mine.
It seems she was truthful about that particular detail. The court managed to obtain a statement from the other man involved, who confirmed that he is certain the child is not his, as he also used protection.
Yes, Your Honor.
Did you sleep with anybody else on the 31st?
No, Your Honor. No.
The end of March?
I met him like the end of March, beginning of April.
Okay. So, Mr. Evans, now that you see this calendar, are you pretty convinced now? Has it changed your testimony? Do you believe you are Lainey's biological father?
Despite all this, Mr. Evans remains convinced that he is not the child's father. Given their conflicting accounts, I believe the DNA results will ultimately provide clarity on the matter. Here are the results.
Mr. Evans, you are not the father. You were right, Mr. Evans. You are not her biological father.
Miss Grimes initiates her case by asserting her long-held belief that her ex-boyfriend is the father of her child, confident that the forthcoming results will validate her claim. In contrast, Mr. Davis, the ex-boyfriend, contends that she is being dishonest and points out that there are two other potential fathers of the child.
So, Ms. Grimes, what was the nature of your relationship with the defendant?
I was in a relationship with him when I found out I was pregnant.
How long had you been together?
Me and Anthony had been together for about 3 months.
And about 3 months into that, you realized
I was pregnant.
There appears to be a discrepancy in her narrative. She claims to have discovered her pregnancy just 3 months into their relationship. Furthermore, she states that upon informing Mr. Davis of the pregnancy, he expressed great enthusiasm and a desire to be involved in the child's life.
First, I didn't know what to think, but you know what I'm saying, thinking that I might possibly have a baby, you know, it kind of made me happy, you know, that I was gonna have another baby. But then, that's when I started finding stuff out, you know.
What did you find?
I found her telling another man that it might have been his baby.
I was taken aback by this revelation as I sensed something amiss in her initial account. Could it be that the child actually belongs to one of the individuals Mr. Davis mentioned?
I looked at her phone.
And when you looked at her phone, you found a message.
I found two messages from two different people.
Oh, 2 messages.
But he was cheating too, so we was even.
Ms. Grimes, I want to understand what you're saying. You said you admit you were cheating because he was cheating too?
Yeah.
The expression on her face seemed somewhat dubious. She has acknowledged her infidelity, but insists that her actions were a response to Mr. Evans's own unfaithfulness.
It was some text messages from 2 different men. 2 of them.
So she texted 2 different men, not just one?
She was telling one that it was his baby and telling the other one she didn't know who baby it was, so I assume it could have been his too.
It is difficult to take her claims at face value. She seems to expect others to believe that Mr. Evans has revealed the truth, stating to the judge that she was unfaithful with 2 different men.
So take me to the day you give birth. I mean, after all of this, do you have support through the pregnancy? Is Mr. Davis there?
Yeah, he was there.
He went to doctor's appointments?
Yeah, he went to a couple.
And then on the day you give birth, what happens?
He's at the hospital. He stayed the whole time I was in the hospital. He was with me. He was like, I can tell he's mine. He looked just like me and my family.
The 2 parties are clearly at an impasse. Miss Grimes asserts that upon the birth of the child, Mr. Davis remarked that the baby resembled him and his other children. However, Mr. Davis refutes this assertion, claiming he never made such comments.
Do you sign the birth certificate?
No.
You don't?
No, I wasn't sure.
That's the right thing to do when you aren't sure.
I can't trust her word.
And so meanwhile, you've just had a baby, Miss Grimes.
Yes.
The father is saying now, I don't believe.
Yes.
Whatever happened to this ex?
He's still around. He's the father of my first child.
This woman may require professional assistance following this court case. She reveals that her former partner remains actively involved in her life and is the father of her first child. To complicate matters,
it's from Miss Grimes to her ex. Says, I need you because I cheated on Anthony with you, and it's possible James is yours.
It was possible. I didn't say he was his, though. Them were my words. That James was yours did not come out of my mouth. James, it's possible. We slept together one time.
That's
around the time I got pregnant.
it is certainly certainly a valid reason to harbor doubts regarding the child. In fact, it could justify their permanent separation. If I were in his position, I would find it difficult for Miss Grimes to ever connect with me again after uncovering such secrets.
Do you believe you are James's biological father?
Well, yeah.
Why is that?
Because around the same time, she had, it all add up.
The timeline.
Yeah,
he don't look like you, though.
What does he imply by such a statement? If he believes he is the child's father, it suggests they have been intimate, especially considering they already share a child. I would not be surprised if he is indeed the biological father of the child in question.
Says things that make me believe so.
What does she say?
I feel like, he yours, you know what I mean? I want him to be yours. She even told me that, she would rather for me to be
she's
the
told
father.
you she wants the child to be yours.
Yeah,
I didn't say that.
She told me that a couple times.
She retorts that it is impossible for her to want the baby to be his, given that he does not care for their first child. It seems that honesty is lacking in this situation, and I believe we should obtain the results.
Pertaining to whether Mr. Davis or Mr. Warren, the biological father is Mr. Davis.
So I wasn't lying.
Taylor is eager to uncover the identity of her biological father. Interestingly, this is not her first appearance in Judge Lauren's courtroom. In the past, her mother was involved with 2 men, and for reasons unknown, she is uncertain about who Taylor's father is.
Mr. Hardy, you are here to prove what you have always known, that you fathered the defendant's 26-year-old daughter, Taylor. You say your belief was proven to be true after Taylor learned another man was not her biological dad.
This case appears to be rife with unexpected developments. Miss Lynn, Taylor's mother, informs the court that there is a possibility that Mr. Hardy, along with another individual, could be Taylor's father. This raises the question of how many men she was involved with.
Mr. Hardy, you say you've always known you were Taylor's biological father?
Yes, Your Honor.
Tell me why.
Brandy and I was together at the time that Taylor was conceived. I was there as much as we could possibly be together, every chance we got to be together. Also, she has same color eyes, same color hair, looks just like my oldest son.
It is evident from Mr. Hardy's demeanor that he deeply wishes for Taylor to be his daughter. He even expresses to Judge Lauren that she resembles his son, sharing similar eyes and hair color.
The second time she told me she was pregnant, I doubted it because she had already said she was pregnant before.
So you were told she was pregnant before?
Yes, but she wasn't pregnant that time. So I had my doubts the second time she told me she was pregnant. I didn't believe it until I seen for myself that she was pregnant.
Since you've always known this was your child, were you accompanying her? Was your family involved in the pregnancy? Were you there?
Not
at all.
No, ma'am.
It raises questions as to why her parents would not allow him to have a relationship with his daughter. If he is indeed her father, it is reasonable to expect that he should have the opportunity to see her.
Taylor, I want to ask you, so all this time you're being raised by Mr. Jennings?
Yes.
And this is the man you believe is your biological father your whole life?
Yes, Your Honor.
So how did you find out that he might be your biological father?
It was Thanksgiving. I think it was maybe I was 23, right around there. I had asked my mom because my boyfriend had mentioned that I looked like him.
Moreover, her mother did not disclose the possibility that another man could be Taylor's biological father. This raises concerns about Ms. Lynn's role as a mother. In her defense, Ms. Lynn argued that her actions were intended to protect her daughter.
You reached out to him and you
Yes.
submitted that message to the court.
Yes.
Let me see what this message says. Hey Keith, I was searching on Facebook through my mom's old friends looking for my biological father. Do you know who he could be? Mr. Hardy responds, it's me. You respond, what? Why didn't you tell me?
The odds of such a situation occurring are remarkable. Taylor had her suspicions about the existence of her real father and sought to identify him. She reached out to Mr. Hardy via her mother's Facebook account.
Miss Lynn, when you hear your daughter speak so beautifully about a day spent with Mr. Hardy, that just having that moment just meant the world to her, how does that make you feel? Because it is your assertion that there's a very real possibility that he is not her biological father.
It hurts me for her because she grew up knowing the man I was married to as her father.
It is not as straightforward as you might think, Miss. While it is clear that she is your daughter and that you love her, it is essential for her to understand the identity of her biological father.
And one of the ways at your age at that time you could marry him was that you had to be pregnant.
I was 15 years old.
And you admitted that the first day you had sex with Mr. Jennings. things. Day 2, Mr. Hardy. Next day and the next day, day 3 and 4 with Mr. Bryant. Because your doctor had given you a 4-day window of conception. Yep. So there is another man, possibly B. Yes. Your daughter's biological father. Yes.
This revelation significantly alters the situation. Taylor is under the impression that Mr. Hardy is her biological father. However, matters become increasingly complicated. Miss Lynn has disclosed that she was involved with a man she intended to marry, and the only way to facilitate that union was through pregnancy.
We've been told that you are a potential biological father. Do you believe you are her biological father?
Yes, ma'am.
You do? Tell the court why.
Because she's got so much resemblance of my daughter. I've been believing it for 26 years. It's time to get it over with, you know.
The crux of the issue seems to lie with Miss Lynn. Mr. Bryant, who is also a potential father, enters the courtroom and states that Miss Lynn informed him he could be the child's father upon learning of her pregnancy.
You experienced with Taylor and believing that you were basically locked out of her life.
Yeah, I pretty much bought my rights to the state.
When you hear this, Taylor, how does it make you feel?
I mean, sad, because, I mean, either one is and one's not. I mean, I don't want to hurt anyone. I want to know the truth, but I don't want anyone to get hurt because of me, you know.
It's not because of you, babe.
No, that's not your fault.
It's not because of you.
That's my fault.
As Judge Lauren indicated, it is not Miss Lynn's fault, and she should not bear any guilt. If blame is to be assigned, it should certainly fall on her mother. The only course of action remaining is to await the reading of the results, which are now forthcoming.
As it pertains to whether or not Mr. Bryant or Mr. Hardy is the biological father of 26-year-old Taylor's biological father is Mr. Bryant.
Yes! Yes, I told you. Thank you very much.
If you love this emotional roller coaster, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more shocking courtroom drama.
I'm sorry.
Like a whole year wasted, man. I want to be her dad.
Miss McCrory, give yourself a minute and then come back in. Let's finish this case.
I had sex with Mr. Parker more than I did the other guy. We had sexual relations probably once or twice a week. When we're together, that's his son. When we're not together, he's not his son.
Ms. Robinson claims that Mr. Parker is the biological father of her 23-month-old daughter, Tanila. Mr. Parker remains skeptical, having postponed their wedding due to his doubts. The truth now hinges on the DNA results expected today.
Ms. Robinson, you're here desperately trying to save your relationship. You've petitioned the court for a DNA test to prove to the defendant, Mr. Parker, that he is the father of your 23-month-old daughter, Tanila.
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Parker, you put your wedding on hold because you're positive you are not the father.
Despite knowing about her unfaithfulness, Mr. Parker chose to stay with her. He witnessed her holding hands with another man in the park without confronting her. It seems he was silently waiting for a sign.
She started to be more distant herself, and the calls started not coming in. She didn't start showing up.
Towards you.
Yes, you were.
I was spending multiple times with you.
Someone else. She started not coming, home a lot, and things started changing everything. Then,
Your Honor, we was not living together. I was living with my grandmother. We were spending nights.
Ms. Robinson not only lied about being pregnant, but also concealed the baby's existence for 5 months. She revealed the child's presence long after birth. Now she seeks to mend their fractured relationship.
Met somebody else, I did my own thing. I wasn't really too much worried about her. Then all of a sudden, things started to come back around. She came to my house. I asked her, I was so shocked at her. I was like, hey, how you doing today? I seen a long time ago. And all of a sudden, it was a baby there. So I'm like, who's this baby of yours? And she was like, this is your child. And I said, what? My child? What do you mean, my child?
Her tactics border on the dramatic when Mr. Parker was stunned by her unexpected visit with a child in her arms. The surprise left him speechless and deeply confused. This event added another twist to an already tangled situation.
So when you first found out you were pregnant, did you contact Mr. Parker at all?
During my pregnancy, Your Honor, no, I have not.
You didn't?
No.
Were you with anybody else during that time?
Yes, Your Honor, I was.
The complexity of their circumstances grows as she hesitated to confess her pregnancy to him, yet boldly informed the other man that he was the father. Such contradictory behavior has left many questioning her true motives. The inconsistencies only fuel further distrust.
I was nervous, Your Honor. I was going through my pregnancy hormones, and I was just distraught. I was going through a lot. I was nervous. I didn't know how to go about coming to him with the bad news.
What bad news?
That I was sleeping around with someone else.
In court, Mr. Parker learned that the other man had even signed the birth certificate. This revelation deepens the mystery surrounding the child's paternity. It casts serious doubt on the legitimacy of her claims.
This other guy had signed the birth certificate, and also I knew that he would be devastated. I didn't know how to come to him and just say, oh, well, the other guy has signed her birth certificate.
But you don't let somebody sign a birth certificate just because they're there.
You're right, Your Honor.
Additional details emerged during the court hearing when her sister testified that Miss Robinson had moved from Chicago specifically to help care for the child. This revelation forced her to confront the reality of the lies that had been told. The courtroom drama intensified as more truths surfaced.
I want to know this, Mr. Parker. Once she came to you when Tanila was 5 months old, what happened then?
My whole life changed. I mean, Your Honor, I was like...
Happy?
I was happy, you're right. I was excited, you know. I felt like I was on heaven. You know, that was everything in the world to me. I saw this little girl with mama in my ear telling me, oh, she looked just like you, looked like you when you was a baby and everything.
During the hearing, she presented a percentage chart claiming that 80% of her emotional ties were with Mr. Parker and 20% with the unknown man. However, DNA does not negotiate. It simply reveals the truth. This attempt to quantify her relationships only added to the controversy.
Ms. Robinson, you are...
I'm her sister.
What do you know about this?
I talk to her a lot on the phone. I hear her crying a lot. I moved down here from Chicago to help her out. I keep the baby for weeks at a time. I provide financially for the baby. She wants to go to school. I must say, financially wise, he's good. He's excellent with them too.
For 2 years, Mr. Parker has been mentally and financially devoted to the situation, believing in a reality that now seems shattered. His entire world is on the brink of dramatic change. The weight of betrayal and uncertainty is overwhelming him.
So you said you knew the whole time that the child was Mr. Parker's, even though you lied and said it was the other guy.
Yes, sure.
How can you be so certain if you were with both of them during the window of conception?
I had sex with Mr. Parker more than I did the other guy. We had sexual relations probably once or twice a week.
With the DNA results finally in, the tension in the courtroom is palpable as everyone braces for a revelation.
Mr. Parker, you are not Tanila's father.
Oh my God.
I'm sorry.
Sis!
I'm sorry.
Like a whole year wasted, man. I want to be her dad.
This case is already unusual. Mr. Rice is accused of being the father of Miss Johnson's 6-month-old son, Jeremiah. However, Mr. Rice is confident he isn't the father and even believes he knows who the real dad is.
Ms. Johnson, you have summoned the defendant to court today to prove that he fathered your 6-month-old son, Jeremiah.
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Rice, you say you are 100% certain you are not her child's biological father.
Right away, it's clear that Mr. Rice has never met the child. He wasn't present at the hospital or during the pregnancy. Before taking any responsibility, he demands a DNA test, as he has serious doubts that need answers.
We had sex, and I found out I was pregnant in September.
Back when we first met, back in high school, I've always had a crush on her. You know, when she needed something, you know, I would be there for her. You know, even when she needed a shoulder to cry on, I was just that person to be there.
Okay, so you all have a history.
Yeah, and I finally got my shot, and I decided to take it.
Miss Johnson admits she started dating Mr. Rice as a rebound after breaking up with her boyfriend. Just 2 months later, she became pregnant. However, she broke up with Mr. Rice right after telling him about the baby, raising suspicion.
It's a regular doctor's appointment. I wasn't feeling good, and when I got in there, she said, she was like, Miss Johnson, you're pregnant. And I was like, what? And me and Mr. Rice had already talked about, you know, he said he wanted kids, and I didn't think it was a problem. I thought he would be happy that I was pregnant. And he was happy.
At first, Mr. Rice was excited, but then Miss Johnson dropped a bombshell. Her ex-boyfriend could also be the father. To make matters worse, an STD complication arose, but Mr. Rice tested negative. Now he's connecting the dots and doesn't like what he sees.
He sees as he puts the pieces together.
Because I knew him just like he knew him. So I messaged him and was like, have you seen Mr. Rice? And he was like, he hadn't seen him, but when he does, he'll tell him, you know, I told him to tell him I was pregnant. And he told her.
And so I called her, I got on the phone with her, and I was talking to her, and I was excited about it. You know, I was thrilled, I was happy.
Timeline doesn't add up. Miss Johnson told Mr. Rice in October that she was 1 month pregnant, meaning the baby should have been born in June. Instead, Jeremiah was born in April. making Mr. Rice even more certain that he was deceived.
That doesn't make sense to me at all, Your Honor. Because
if it doesn't make sense,
I wasn't having sex with anybody but him during the time. So there was no way that he didn't have it because I wasn't sleeping with anybody else.
She was there when I took the test.
Yeah, I was there through everything. I'm the one that told him
And
to go
so
through.
you were told you don't have the STD.
Then the ex-boyfriend, Mr. Williams, enters the picture. He's been present from the start, attending doctor's appointments and changing diapers. When asked who Miss Johnson claimed was the father, he pointed at Mr. Rice. If he also had doubts, why did he take responsibility?
And you believe her ex is Jeremiah's biological father.
That means she was cheating already.
I haven't cheated on him. I haven't been with anybody else but Mr. Rice.
But it doesn't make sense, because right after we broke up, maybe a week or two later, she was right back with her ex.
Now, things take a bizarre turn. The baby's middle name, Siege, is actually James, spelled backwards. James being Mr. Williams' first name. Coincidence? Mr. Rice doesn't think so. This isn't just a name, it's a hidden.
At this moment, Mr. Rice, you believe Miss Johnson's ex-boyfriend is the father of Jeremiah, not you.
Because when she told me she was a month pregnant, it was in October. But if she was a month pregnant in October, the baby was supposed to be born in June. The baby was born in April.
With multiple men questioning paternity and Miss Johnson avoiding direct answers, this case is turning into a soap opera. The judge has had enough. It's time for a DNA test to settle this once and for all.
Despite what she tells you?
Yes, ma'am.
You do?
Yes, ma'am.
So you think this is your biological child?
Yes, ma'am.
The biological father is Mr. Rice. You are the father.
This case is a mess. Mr. McCrory had doubts about the paternity of his daughter and received shocking news. Now he looks at his son, Keith Jr., with suspicion.
Mr. McCrory, after you and your wife received shocking results in this courtroom surrounding your daughter's paternity, you returned home and realized you have good reason to doubt your son, Keith's paternity. Ms. McCrory, you claim your daughter's results surprised you, but you're confident your husband fathered your 3-year-old son.
It turns out Mr. McCrory took a brief break around the time Keith Jr. was conceived. Miss McCrory admits she was with someone else during that period. The revelation leaves everyone questioning the truth.
Your Honor. We're on the part where you find out you're pregnant and you slept with two. No, we're not on the marital part.
Well, the fact is, it's his kid. 1,000% sure.
You're that certain.
Yes.
But you were also very certain when it came to Nevaeh. I remember this attitude. I don't forget. You acted just like this the last time you were in court about Nevaeh.
Things are already going badly, and the story is just beginning. She never mentioned the other man because she was 100% sure Keith Jr. was her husband's son. Now her honesty is in doubt.
Let me rephrase. He didn't know you slept with someone else when you were broken up. Am I correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Because you said the bed wasn't even cold yet.
Yes, Your Honor. And see, the thing is the potential father, she would promise him, say she'd send him pictures and stuff like that, but she said she promised me she wasn't sending him pictures.
Mr. McCrory is outraged, accusing her of lying on national television. How can she claim her daughter's father was her husband and then expect trust? The contradiction is glaring.
So these are photos that you're afraid she's also sending to men.
There's nothing wrong with that picture.
Yes, Your Honor.
No,
I am. I mean, the first one was just like not too long ago.
And those pictures, I wasn't even with him.
The first
and that's
one
just pictures,
was like
those pictures have been on
less than
Facebook
6 months
for
ago.
years, and I don't do that stuff no more.
Here's the plot twist. The break wasn't as simple as it appeared. There were no signs of trouble in their bedroom, yet no one answered her phone for 2 days. When he finally called, a stranger was heard in the background.
This was supposed to be my friend and her friend. He comes over our house, he chills out, he would come to the house and drink with us and crash on the couch for the night.
And this is the person she slept with?
Yes, Your Honor. If she's lying to me and it's not my son, I'm not going to stay with her. I'm going to leave her. I mean, I'm not going to be with somebody who lied to me about my son.
So the stakes are that high?
Yes, Your Honor.
This unknown man, unfamiliar to Mr. McCrory, was identified as her brother. His unexpected presence deepens the mystery. The explanation only adds to the confusion.
Going through all this, Your Honor, it made me kind of think about things like, there was a time and period.
I'm not sitting here.
Miss McCrory, give yourself a minute and then come back in. Let's finish this case. Mr. McCrory, this is the reason why you asked the court for a lie detector test.
Yes,
because you don't have any trust.
I don't have any trust.
The drama intensifies with the mother-in-law's intervention. Mr. McCrory's mother is convinced that the child is her grandson, armed with receipts, posters, and pictures. She is almost ready to claim the baby as her own.
The truth is that there is at least one other possible father for Keith Jr.
Not to me, no. He is the father.
Well, we've heard this before, Miss McCrory. And it didn't turn out the way you said, and that's what is making him so nervous?
Me nervous is that the other possibility is still on her Facebook today.
The situation grows even stranger. Miss McCrory once handed the baby to her mother-in-law, as proven by a handwritten note. This act has sparked comparisons to an Amazon return, sending the courtroom into chaos.
One man you admitted to your husband. You admitted that you did.
Yeah, I did.
Who is that person?
To someone else. It was mistakes when I got together, so he shouldn't be over there shaking his head because he's no better.
All right.
Now science must clear the air. Mr. McCrory's rare blood issue complicates his ability to have children, casting further doubt on his claim. With tensions at their peak, the judge orders a DNA test to finally reveal the truth.
Mr. McCrory, you are the father.
Yeah, I told you so.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Your Honor.
I'm happy for you.
It's a wild ride with this case. Miss Hines claims that Mr. Jackson, her ex-husband, is the father of her 22-month-old son, Matthias. Yet Mr. Jackson insists it's impossible.
Ms. Hines, today you've summoned your ex-boyfriend, Mr. Jackson, to court. You want to prove that he fathered your 22-month-old son, Matthias. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Miss Hines won't back down. On Christmas Eve, they had sex in the car, and when she announced her pregnancy, called it a Christmas gift. Mr. Jackson, however, denies any involvement.
What information do you have that would suggest that she was
had
having
another
sex with
male
somebody
living
else?
with her, and it was a time that, like, I was snooping around the house, and I had seen a box because he had says it was taking some stuff to storage. So I had seen a box, and in that box, it was some condoms in the box.
Now for the plot twist. Mr. Jackson has been digging through her messages and even discovered a text where a man called her bouncy. He also found condoms hidden at her house.
I mean, if you snooping, why are you even with her then?
I've just seen so many things that seem shady.
So what you're saying is the instances of admitting she's cheating, the little lies, and those things were leading you to doubt her.
Leading me to doubt her.
Miss Hines just dropped a bombshell. She slept with her ex. She claims it happened before she met Mr. Jackson, even though he keeps checking her phone for answers.
Is brown hair like that. My brother was born with light brown hair.
Yeah, but my daughter looks exactly like me, like my
To be honest, if you look really closely at his hair is not jet black. And my son's hair was lighter than that.
Things get even stranger. Mr. Jackson argues he couldn't focus on her because she was living with someone else. Miss Hines counters that the other man was only passing through, but he isn't convinced.
So, Miss Hines, what has Mr. Jackson done for Matthias? Is he involved? Does he help support him?
Behind closed doors, he's his son. Around other people, he's not. When we're together, that's his son.
Yeah,
when we're not
from the
together, he's not his son.
The scandal deepens with social media. Miss Hines produced Facebook texts showing Mr. Jackson flirting with many women. This double standard has the crowd fuming.
So, Miss Hines, you've been struggling to support Matthias.
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Jackson has contributed what?
4 outfits.
And you've been doing this by yourself?
I mean, I have my mom, and then I have my best friend.
Let's talk about Matthias. Mr. Jackson has been absent, while Miss Hines and her best friend have taken on the parenting role. They've even taught him simple things like using the potty, unlike Mr. Jackson.
You don't know that I've been potty training your son. You don't know that I spend money on your son. You don't know that one day she had no money for diapers and she called you and asked you for $5 and you told her no, but then you got a cab and went somewhere?
Finally, the moment of truth arrives. Silence falls as the judge prepares to read the list of names. Mr. Jackson looks stressed and Miss Hines appears shocked as the courtroom awaits the verdict.
Jackson, you are Matthias's father.
At least, like, if I can get a...
That's up to her. The most ignorant stuff I done seen in here in a long time. Sit down. Miss Sism, you sit in that chair. Miss Sism, sit down. And Miss Riley, have a seat. This is just ignorant. Come over here, Anthony. Sit down. You all are just, this is shameful human being acts like. Clowning in here.
And talk to this woman like a woman when she was pregnant. So don't sit up here and tell that lie.
Calm down.
Damn lie.
Ladies.
Oh, wait a minute.
Ladies.
Two teenagers, Destiny Sissom and Anthony Taylor, found themselves in a difficult situation after having a child. However, uncertainty loomed over who the father was. Now both families stood before the court, ready to battle over paternity, responsibility, and the ultimate truth.
What stands stands before me is a case of babies having babies, teenagers. This is upsetting. With that said, Miss Sism, you and your teenage daughter, Destiny, are here to prove that Anthony Taylor is the father of your daughter's 8-month-old son, Osiris. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Destiny's mother, Marilyn Sism, was adamant that Anthony was the father of her grandson, Osiris. She had no doubt in her mind. She had seen this situation before, a child left fatherless, just as she had been when she lost her father at a young age.
I lost my dad when I was 2, so I know what it's like not to have a father. But I'm not here because of me. I'm not here because of Destiny. I'm here because of Osiris.
Destiny, you truly believe Anthony is this child's father?
Yes, Your Honor.
You've changed the course of your life by having this baby.
Yes, Your Honor.
On the other hand, Anthony's mother, Brenda Riley, refused to accept that her son had any responsibility. From the moment she learned of Destiny's pregnancy, she had her suspicions. The courtroom quickly turned into a battlefield, with both mothers hurling accusations at each other.
She was sneaking at my house. She was coming over here lying, conniving, saying, I have a 14-year-old daughter at home. She was sneaking over there, hollering about she was coming over there to see my daughter.
That's a lie, Your Honor.
My son was going to school. How are you going to tell me what's a lie?
Because, Your Honor, they was having sex in her house. And she, what type of parent is she? If she gonna tell them, she told them.
Destiny and Anthony had carefully planned their meetings, keeping their parents in the dark. They had used Brenda's house as their hideaway, taking advantage of her trust. But despite this, Brenda remained firm in her belief that the child wasn't her grandchild, and she had her reasons.
Your Honor, I see her walking with another guy. My son at school, this is before Destiny said anything about she was pregnant. Next thing you know, I find out that my son come telling me that she told him that she pregnant. How is that? You just came around 2 weeks ago? And he was messing with another girl at the time.
Marilyn wasn't backing down. She fiercely defended her daughter's honor, insisting there was no doubt about Osiris's father. Her daughter had been a virgin before Anthony, she claimed. But in the courtroom, certainty meant nothing without proof.
Now, to Mom, Miss Sism, you know it's Miss Riley's house where she's going to have. You don't know. She just saying I'm going over my friends.
That's all.
That's where I am.
That's all.
So you don't even know about Anthony.
No.
You think your daughter's a virgin.
She was a virgin when she met Anthony. So therefore, yes, it's Anthony's baby.
For Destiny, this case was about securing a future for her son. For Marilyn, it was about justice. For Brenda, it was about protecting her son from a life-altering responsibility that might not even be his. The stakes had never been higher.
One of her family members threatened us. So yes, I did, because my daughter ain't finna go through this with her. She young. I tried to call this woman and talk to this woman like a woman when she was pregnant. So don't sit up here and tell that lie.
Calm down.
Damn lie.
Ladies.
Oh, wait a minute.
Ladies, hold on.
Tensions in the courtroom ran high, with emotions boiling over. Each testimony brought them closer to either the truth or devastating heartbreak. The judge, watching both mothers nearly come to blows, finally turned to Anthony.
Do you believe you are Osiris's biological father?
Yes, I do.
You do believe that?
Yes.
And tell me why.
Because I picked Destiny and I took her virginity, and I felt like I was getting into a lot of trouble and things that was happening, and I felt like
Anthony's response was surprising. He had signed the birth certificate without hesitation, as if he had planned it all along. He confirmed Destiny's version of events. Everyone seemed to be in agreement, except Brenda. But was she right?
Mr. Taylor, you are his father.
At last, the moment of truth arrived. Marilyn's emotions were understandable. Any mother would have fought just as hard. Accusations, shouting, and pain filled the room. But in the end, the truth cut through the noise.
The most ignorant stuff I done seen in here in a long time. Sit down. Miss Sism, you sit in that chair. Miss Sism, sit down. And Miss Riley, have a seat. This is just ignorant. Come over here, Anthony. Sit down. You all are just, this is shameful.
Anthony Johnson was convinced he had been tricked. He claimed Alexis Owen. Anthony wasn't just skeptical, he was furious. He had been there for Darari's birth and even signed the birth certificate, believing in his heart that this was his son. Things got even messier when Alexis claimed Anthony had done nothing to support the baby. She accused him of just showing up and offering nothing more. But Anthony wasn't about to let that accusation slide. He shot back, ready to defend himself. Insults started flying, making it clear this case was becoming personal. Alexis wasn't going to sit back and take it. What began as a paternity dispute was now an all-out war, and Judge Lauren had to step in before things spiraled out of control. He was convinced he wasn't the child's father and that he had been taken for a ride. He was angry, and an angry man could say reckless things, but Alexis knew exactly how to push his buttons. The judge wanted to understand how Alexis could have mistakenly believed Anthony was the father in the first place. his fury, Anthony had to control himself if he wanted to be heard. Judge Lauren wasn't interested in emotions, only facts. She had seen it all before and wasn't about to let when it seemed the courtroom couldn't get any more heated. Alexis took things too far. The judge had been patient, but now she had had enough. Anthony and Alexis had turned this legal proceeding into a full-blown spectacle, and she wasn't going to let it continue. No longer about their anger. It was about Durari. A little boy deserved to know the truth. He deserved a father. He deserved parents who could act like adults, not enemies tearing each other down in a courtroom. The judge gave them one final warning, but this nonsense stops today. If Anthony was the father, he had to step up. If he wasn't, Alexis had to accept the truth and move forward. But what neither of them would do was keep dragging each other through the mud at the expense of an innocent child. Now, it was time for the results.
Mr. Johnson, you...
Don't go anywhere till now you have seen the trailer. Now the movie is about to start.
You are her father.
This case isn't just about paternity. It's a full-blown crisis. At the center of it is young Miss White, standing in court, desperate to set the record straight for her 3-month-old daughter. From the start, it's clear that her self-esteem issues have led her down a dangerous path.
Fathered your 3-month-old daughter, but say you blame your mother. Both possible fathers have been tested and are waiting outside of the courtroom.
Although her mother stands by her, Miss White admits that her struggles with weight and confidence pushed her toward reckless behavior. Now, with 2 possible fathers waiting outside for DNA results, the stakes couldn't be higher.
She have low self-esteem. She said because her weight problem. I say she looked beautiful to me. You know, she can go to the Y.
What makes this case even more chaotic is the pattern of self-destruction. Her mother recounts how Miss White constantly seeks validation from the wrong people. This dangerous cycle has finally reached its breaking.
And it's like sometimes when I went to school, I wanted to wear True Religion, rock Republican. I wanted to wear stuff like that, but you know, I couldn't fit into it. And you know, as my mom said, she offered to take me to the Y, but when I went up to the Y, I got teased on up there. And
Miss White doesn't deny that life hasn't been kind to her. She always felt like she would never be enough, no matter what she did. In search of love, she ended up entangled in a web of intimacy, blurred lines, and poor judgment, making the paternity question even more complicated.
I wanted someone to, you know, Valentine's Day, I wanted gifts. I wanted to be, you know, walk in parks. I wanted all that, and I never got it.
So you were dating and sleeping with more than one guy?
Yes, Sean, I was.
At the same time?
Yes.
Then came a shocking revelation. One of the potential fathers confessed to a 3-way encounter with Miss White. The situation was already spiraling, but this bombshell sent it into full disaster mode.
Yes, because my daughter, she's finding love in all the wrong places. I wake up, she want to be a love, she want boyfriends, but you don't find them like that going on Craigslist. Moco space. You know, you jeopardizing your life, you getting into cars at nighttime, sitting in a strange car with people I've never seen before.
Her mother was visibly upset. The judge listened carefully but wasn't impressed. Before moving forward, she wanted to hear from someone else, so-called matchmaker, had orchestrated this entire situation. Maybe she had some answers.
At some point, found out you were pregnant.
Yes, Sean.
Tell me what happened.
I was going to my friend's house. You know, I felt as though she was my real friend. She had my best interest in mind.
Now, there were conflicting versions of the story. The judge had heard enough of the victim mentality. Miss White's choices weren't just bad luck, they were reckless decisions. And now, an innocent child was caught in the middle.
I wasn't dating him. That was just like a one-night stand.
But obviously, you slept with him during that same period of conception.
Yes.
Were there any other men you were with during this time?
There was another guy that I had met at her house.
The judge didn't sugarcoat the truth. She called it what it was, a cycle of self-destruction disguised as a search for love. Whether Miss White was influenced by her friend or not, she had to take responsibility. And as for the men, they weren't escaping accountability either.
You all can argue back and forth across this aisle, but this is her choice. And she admits that she's sleeping with men for the wrong reason. She already said that. And ultimately, you know this is your responsibility.
Yes, John.
The time for bad choices was over. The time for self-pity was done. It was time to grow up, take responsibility, and break the cycle before history repeated itself. And now the moment everyone had been waiting for, the DNA results.
Mr. Clopton, you are not the father. Mr. Langford, you are her father.
This case is anything but simple. Miss Miller is determined to prove that her ex-boyfriend, Mr. Rasmussen, is not the biological father of her 3-year-old daughter, Zai. But Mr. Rasmussen is just as adamant that he is. He's here to prove it.
Ms. Miller, you're here to prove to your ex-boyfriend, Scotty Rasmussen, that he is not the father of your 3-year-old daughter, Zaylee Rasmussen.
Yes, Your Honor.
You claim you've been in an ongoing court battle over custody and have petitioned the court several times for a DNA test, all of which have been denied.
Yes, Your Honor.
From the start, the judge's patience wears thin. Miss Miller claims Mr. Rasmussen is only pushing for visitation to claim Zai on his taxes, an accusation he furiously denies. He argues that he has driven thousands of miles and paid child support, despite her repeated efforts to keep him out of their daughter's life.
Yes, I was very mad at him for being a cheater. He cheated on me through pretty much our whole relationship. No, I do not hate him because of that. I lost my respect for him, yes.
He says this is about visitation, too. He loves his daughter, but you don't want him to have the visitation. Is that true?
Yes, Your Honor.
The argument quickly escalates, with both sides accusing each other of manipulation and dishonesty. Miss Miller insists that during the month of conception, Mr. Rasmussen wasn't even in the same state. He was in Las Vegas while she was with someone else.
Why is it you don't want him involved in this child's life?
Because I still believe that he is not hers.
Okay, and listen, that's what we're here for. I want to get down to the bottom of the truth.
Yeah.
You don't believe he's her biological father?
Yes, Your Honor.
So explain to me why.
When she was conceived in March of 2011. He wasn't even in the same state.
Despite everything, Mr. Rasmussen refuses to believe he's not the father. He had been there through every doctor's appointment, signed the birth certificate, and even braved treacherous winter roads to witness Zai's birth. For him, there was never any doubt.
At what point were you ever told that you were not her biological father?
I believed I was, and still believe, I was the only biological father until about 5 or 6 months or so, give or take, after she was born. We were at family court talking to the family court commissioner about custody and the things that go along with that, like where she'd be going to school, her doctor, and all that.
That last claim sparks another heated exchange. Miss Miller scoffs, calling his story a complete fabrication. She remembers him as detached and glued to his computer while she was in labor. He fires back, saying he was overwhelmed with excitement and needed a distraction.
On the birth certificate?
Yep, I was at...
You're at the birth?
I was at the birth. I was at every single doctor's appointment. When Zaylee was born, you were at a doctor's appointment. I was at home because I had to work that day. I was at my job as a cashier. I got a phone call and I answered it. They said she was going into labor. I said, okay. I hung up the phone. I quickly finished up as fast as I could with that particular customer.
The judge, already frustrated by their constant contradictions, demands that they stop arguing about emotions and focus on the fact. The truth is, Mr. Rasmussen has consistently paid child support and fought to be in Zai's life, yet Miss Miller still insists he isn't the father.
What was the problem exactly? You let him sign the birth certificate?
I gave my daughter my last name.
Because we were engaged, and I thought we were going to get married. I thought we were going to have a happy life and raise our daughter together until about 3 months after she was born, one of his friends told me everything that he was doing throughout our entire relationship, cheating on me.
Then comes the final straw. Miss Miller had allowed her daughter to carry his last name and accepted his financial support for years, while claiming she always knew he wasn't the father. The inconsistency is glaring, and the judge does not hold back.
I'm not even quite sure. After we broke up, he changed his number, he moved, he pretty much disappeared. I have tried to find him, I have tried to get a hold of him, and I can't find him.
But you keep saying Mr. Rasmussen cheated, he did this, he did that. And as wrong as that may be, you also slept with somebody else.
We weren't even dating then. I was single at that time because he was with this other lady and I was the side chick, which I didn't even really know about.
The courtroom tension reaches its peak. How could she take his money, let him sign legal documents, and still claim he was never the father? It reeks of manipulation, and the judge makes it clear that she won't tolerate games. Now it's time for the truth.
Mr. Rasmussen, you are not the father.
As the DNA results are read, Miss Miller explodes with excitement. But not everyone shares her enthusiasm. Judge Lauren, who had barely tolerated the theatrics, has finally reached her limit.
Miss Miller.
Be respectful.
I'm sorry.
Miss Miller.
I'm sorry.
That's a lot of nerve, considering the alternative is somebody that don't want nothing to do with you or your child.
I'm sorry.
That's a lot of nerve. You just showed me where your priorities were right there. Because I held out hope.
Miss Lopez walked into the courtroom with one goal, to prove that Mr. Carbajal was the father of her children. She was tired of what she believed were his elaborate schemes to deny responsibility. According to her, he had even manipulated a DNA test to escape his obligations.
Ms. Lopez, you are here today because you claim the defendant, Mr. Carbajal, allegedly perpetuated a DNA testing scam to try to deny paternity of your kids. You say you're tired of struggling daily to take care of your children alone, and you need to prove he's their biological father.
If Miss Lopez was here to fight for justice, Mr. Carbajal was here for redemption. He painted himself as the real victim, claiming this wasn't about dodging responsibility, but about clearing his name. Today, he was determined to prove that her story was nothing but a fabrication.
Carbajal, you say the plaintiff has left your life in ruins.
Yes.
By fraudulently claiming you are the father of her children. You argue that you did not perpetrate a DNA testing scam and are here today to prove it.
Yes, Your Honor.
Judge Lauren wanted to understand their history before getting to the heart of the matter. But what started as a routine question quickly turned into a heated exchange. The courtroom tension was already rising.
Well, I met her through a social network. She told me, hey, come see me, for the weekend or just one night. So I want to go see her. And that day that I want to go see her, she'd be like, we basically have sex that first night.
It was not that
Yes,
first
it
night.
was.
No,
Yes, it
no,
was
it
the first
wasn't.
night. Yes,
No.
it was. Yes, it was.
No, it was not.
Yeah, whatever.
Miss Lopez confirmed she was the mother of 2 children, but this wasn't a simple paternity dispute. Mr. Carbajal wasn't just denying fatherhood for one child, he was contesting both. While she insisted he was the father, he argued it was all about money.
So you claim Mr. Carbajal was the only person you were with
Yes, Your Honor.
during that time she
Yes,
was
Your Honor.
conceived.
All she's doing this because she wants our money. She knows my
I don't
family.
care
She
about
knows
money,
my
okay?
family has money, and she knows I don't work.
I don't care
I
about
don't
money,
work,
Your Honor.
right?
I growing up, I did not have a father, and I did not want my daughter growing up without a father.
Well, that's
It
not my
hurts me to
problem.
know that she does not have him around.
The argument escalated. Mr. Carbajal pointed out that he had never signed his son's birth certificate, which he believed cast doubt over everything. Why, if he was the father, had he been denied that right? Miss Lopez fired back, claiming he had never been present.
Why couldn't I sign a birth certificate?
Because you weren't there from the beginning.
We
I
were
was
there.
there. I was there when they both were
No,
born.
hold on.
Hold on. Let's get some order. Hold on, Miss Avila, please stand up. Stand up. What is it that you'd like to add? They're saying they were at the hospital. You say they weren't?
They were at the hospital after they were born. I was there when Aliana was born, when she was being pulled out of my daughter. Second time around, he wasn't there either for the Noah's birth. I was there for Noah's birth.
Mr. Carbajal swore he had never committed DNA fraud and was frustrated by the accusations following him. Then, the case took an unexpected turn when a disturbing piece of evidence surfaced, something that shook the courtroom.
So you have an issue regarding the fact that he has a cleft lip.
Yeah.
You say no one in your family's ever been born with that.
my
so
mom's
so
side
you
or
believe
father's
he's not
side.
yours.
Your Honor.
She also sent me a picture of a man holding my baby. So
Wait.
That was to get
Your
back
Honor.
at
Why-
you
why would
because
she
you're
send that?
not responsible.
Miss Lopez's explanation was weak. She admitted she had tried to push Mr. Carbajal into stepping up by making him jealous, hoping to force his hand. But the damage was already done. Doubt had taken root, and it was growing fast.
I had no sexual contact with my ex or anybody else but your brother, Christina.
That was too soon, though.
It was not too
Yes, it
soon.
was.
The
it
time
was.
that you
No.
sent us that picture, you were already pregnant with Noah.
Yes,
and
you
that
were.
guy looks exactly like Noah.
Yeah.
No.
Yes.
Hold on, Miss Carbajal, let me understand what you're just stating. State it again.
She insisted she hadn't been with anyone else and pointed to a physical trait, the child's cleft lip. No one in Mr. Carbajal's family had ever had this feature, yet she still believed he was the father. And then, the moment of truth arrived. The DNA results were in.
Mr. Carbajal, you are not her father.
Miss Lopez, once fiery in her accusations, suddenly fell silent. She hadn't just lied, she had woven an intricate web of deception, casting an innocent man and his family as villains. Judge, who had exercised patience up until now, had finally run out of it.
You know what? We have the results now from a laboratory conducted DNA test, and you sitting up there still arguing about a home DNA test. Now I know you all don't have no sense.
There's no way.
You're just looking for something to argue about. You're just looking for something to say. slept with him without protection.
Yeah, I did.
At this point, the insults are irrelevant. Because I'm telling you right now, I am furious. Y'all sitting up here acting like kids. Little boy ain't got no refrigerator. And you sitting up talking this nonsense. Court is adjourned. I'll see you in my chambers. With eeny, meeny, miny, and no.
I'm sorry. Another gentleman. His name is DeAndre, the same name as the kid. DeAndre, the baby, he is a junior.
Me and him, it was just him. I was just messing around with him. But you stay calling my phone, calling me.
Leah, who? Explain the guy on the back porch. Who's that guy on the back porch?
Mr. Jackson is in court today to sue the defendant for paternity fraud. He claims that he was deceived into believing he was the father of a child.
Mr. Jackson, you petitioned the court for a DNA test because you believe the defendant, Ms. Elin, has committed paternity fraud by claiming you fathered her 2-year-old daughter, Jemiah.
Yes, Your Honor.
Why is it fraud and not just denial? Well, here's the reason. The case goes deeper than simple confusion. It's about intentional deception.
Because, Your Honor, I found out about this child a whole year ago.
And so what does that have to do with a paternity fraud?
Because if this was my child, I want to be in my child's life. You supposed to let somebody know. Aaliyah picked up and took off. Never heard from her, then she started playing Facebook games.
Facebook games, what exactly is that? It turns out that part of the issue involves online interactions and deceit surrounding the child's paternity.
Sending me messages through Facebook, then she would block me.
You playing games, Ms. Elin?
No, Your Honor, I'm not playing games. No, he blocked me on Facebook. He changed his phone number and everything. I actually have proof. He went ghost on me once I told him I was pregnant. He found out. He went ghost on me. I never heard from him again.
Okay, this is getting complicated, isn't it? The situation has more layers than expected, making it difficult to untangle the truth.
You're in a sexual relationship. Was that it? Were you boyfriend and girlfriend? Or
no.
This was just...
No, this was just a sexual relationship.
With no commitment?
No commitment.
Just a minute ago, Mr. Jackson, you testified that you were in a relationship. Now you saying she's a jump off.
And my man, to be honest with you, I thought we was together.
That's what I thought.
Yeah,
so tell the truth and shame the devil. Don't get in here and get your feelings hurt and now start lying.
Yeah, there's no lying when Judge Lake is involved. She's known for digging deep into the facts and bringing out the truth, no matter how uncomfortable it may be.
I thought we were in a relationship because I was doing things for her, and you thought you were building something.
Yes, you're right, Your Honor.
And honest, Elin, I'm glad that he at least thought that, because if you just walking out of the house sleeping with men in cars every single day, day after day, and they just pull off and leave, there's got to be more to do than that.
This case is no different. The kraken of truth has been released, and there's no turning back now.
Me and him, it was just him. I was just messing around with him. But you stay calling my phone, calling me.
Leah, who? Explain the guy on the back porch. Who's that guy on the back porch?
Wait, I thought you was on the back porch. Oh my God,
Yeah,
thank
it
you.
was 2 guys on the back porch. It was 2 guys on the back porch. Me and the mystery man. Time I was on the back porch, the guy will grill me.
You're just jealous. You're just a jealous person. If you see someone else around, you think that I'm messing with somebody. No, that whole time we were just having sex.
I wasn't even in my feelings at that time when me and you started talking. I wasn't even in my
Hold on,
feelings.
Mr. Jackson,
Yes,
I want to know, why do you feel she is not telling the truth? What do you know about the man on the back porch?
Push the issue forward, hoping for clarity, even though it may not have been
She
easy.
has having a relationship with this other guy.
Yes, Yana. Who ups and take off on a baby? Who ups and take off with a child?
She was up there with another man,
Yes,
and that's why you could see her peeking out the curtain. But they were telling you she wasn't home.
Yeah, she wasn't home.
However, Judge Lake brought the situation back to a more basic level. She made sure to address the core issues in a way everyone could understand.
You have a baby, like a little girl in the world that could potentially be yours, even if you don't know for sure. If it was my daddy, I do want him to have that compass looking for me. That's what daddies do. And then another news flash is, when a child doesn't have a father in their life and the mother is trying to make ends meet on their own, as soon as you start telling me she moving all over the place, that lets me know this child and this mother is alone and they're at risk.
And she also gave a reality check to the potential father on the stand. Ultimately, there's only one solution to this problem. Let's get to that.
In the case of Jackson versus Elin, when it comes to 2-year-old Jemiah Elin, it has been determined by this court. Mr. Jackson, you are the father.
That cheating and pettiness can definitely get on anyone's nerves, and Judge Lake is no exception. She's quick to call out dishonesty when she sees it.
Ms. Commons, you claim the defendant has been denying your 2-year-old daughter Breeze and refuses to do anything for her. You are furious and testify that you are certain he is the father, loving father for the first 1.5 years of Breeze's life until 5 months ago when you appeared in couples court and learned Ms. Commons cheated.
When you jump from one reality show to the next, you know you've got some serious drama. The case was bound to have its fair share of twists and turns.
You say you furious.
Yes, ma'am.
Tell the court why.
Your Honor, I'm here today to prove Mr. Baker is the father of my daughter. Not only have he been there from day one, he signed her birth certificate, he went to every doctor's appointment. His family even threw her baby shower. My family, we don't need to throw baby showers because my auntie, she like well off or whatever. My thing is, for me to come, it's not right. She don't deserve that. Be here. She did not want to be your daughter. She did not want to be my daughter for that matter.
That sounds valid, but Miss Common sort of missed the cheating part. She had some facts, but they didn't quite paint the full picture.
Mr. Baker, you have doubts.
Yes.
Explain to the court.
I got doubts because everything that come out of her mouth a lie. All the stuff she did in the past.
Never. He didn't start denying my daughter until the night I told him what I had did with my ex. That night, we still stayed in the room, we still drunk, we still had sex that night and everything. That night, you would have thought he was Tasmanian Devil. He was like, B, that's not my baby. You know it ain't my baby. I'm like, what? Where did that just come from? We had a good night.
How could you explain a good night? Because she said that I cheated.
Good night, I agree too. Sometimes the simplest moments reveal the most about a situation, but even that doesn't guarantee clarity.
She dropped the bomb number 2, which was that she had slept with somebody else.
Yeah.
Tell me what happened.
We chilling in the hot tub, jacuzzi and everything, and out the blue just came. I cheated. Hold on.
No, Your Honor, that's not what happened. I can tell you exactly what happened.
She like, I cheated, I stepped out. So I'm looking like, when you do it? I asked her, like, when? She talking about, I don't even remember what date, but it was too close to when Breeze, which is
was
pretty
conceived.
Baby. Yeah.
That's not what
Even after that revelation, Miss Common had a reason to believe Mr. Baker was the father. She wasn't completely convinced, but she had her reasons for doubt.
For a fact that it's his daughter, how? Because when my baby was a little baby, she had whooping cough. When I talked to the doctor said that down the line, whooping coughs can cause some form of asthma. He walks around with his asthma pump in his pocket. He pulls out the asthma pump and hit the asthma pump. That's how I know for a fact that's his daughter.
You think that because your daughter had the whooping cough, which could develop into asthma, and Mr. Baker has asthma, that proves that he's the biological father.
Things aren't that simple, and the judge made sure to clear that up. The situation wasn't as straightforward as everyone thought.
It was appropriate to even engage in unprotected sex. This right here is a recipe for disaster. Little tit for tat mess. I say it all the time, it never works. And we as women, we never. Because we always end up with the baby, and it's always our baby and Papa's what?
Baby.
Yep. We gotta stop playing that game. We don't win. We lose, our babies lose. Why play?
Next up, a witness was brought to the court, and they had this to say. Unfortunately, it wasn't the breakthrough everyone hoped for.
My name is Darlicia Baker.
What relationship are you to Mr. Baker?
I am Brandon's oldest sister. Me and Mary been friends, best friends, for 10 years. In fact, she was having sex with other guys.
During the time Breeze was conceived?
Absolutely, yeah, because we would talk on the phone too, and she'd tell me like, I just left from my friend's house, dude, and she'd tell me like, oh girl, his sex wasn't about nothing, like that type of stuff. So I knew for a fact that she was sleeping around.
Oh, that doesn't help at all. It seemed like the witness added more confusion than clarity, so let's move on to the results.
Commons versus Baker. When it comes to 2-year-old Breeze Baker, it has been determined by this court. Mr. Baker, you are the father.
After this, Judge Lake ended things with a real bang. She made sure to close the case with a decisive and final judgment.
And it's not that you don't love her, it's that you don't know how to act. And when I see 2 grown people sitting up here acting a plumb fool, and sitting up here and got a beautiful blessing for a baby here, and y'all sitting around here clowning and can't get it together for this baby. Y'all so worried about whose fault it is. Oh, he was doing this and he was doing this and he was doing. I guarantee you this baby standing before me in 20 years, that's y'all's fault.
Mr. Washington has landed in paternity court because he refuses to father a child who's someone else's junior. He's adamant about not being the father.
Mr. Washington, you claim you need today's DNA results because you were recently ordered to pay support for a child who is another man's junior, and you know you are not the father. Is that correct?
Yes.
But Miss Brown had the opposite to say. She believes Mr. Washington is indeed the father of her child, and she's determined to prove it.
Ms. Brown, you say you are fed up because Mr. Washington has denied your son for 4 years.
Yes.
Tell the court.
Yes, Your Honor. I'm fed up because my son is 4 years old, and I am a single parent, and I'm raising my son on my own, and I don't have no support.
4 years, Mr. Washington?
Your Honor, I do not believe DeAndre is my son at all.
The alleged baby daddy stated unequivocally that he had nothing to do with the child. He's firm in his stance, wants to make sure there's no misunderstanding.
I do not believe DeAndre is my son at all, okay?
You a lie.
And what's really frustrating is having to go to court in Michigan and pay all this money for a kid that I know isn't mine, especially seeing the situation.
You say you know definitively that DeAndre is not your biological child.
Yes.
You know that.
I know it.
You have no doubt in your mind.
No doubt.
Up next, got a little relationship recap. This part sheds light on the dynamics between Mr. Washington and Miss Brown.
Washington, just to be clear and to recap, you started dating Miss Brown and you said you felt like she was inconsistent sometimes. You didn't understand why until she came to visit you. You were riding with her to a gas station and realized that all the men there knew her and were basically trying to, and it triggered something where you felt like, oh, this young woman is dating other people or also being intimate with other people as well.
When the judge asked how Mr. Washington found out about the pregnancy, Miss Brown had this to say. Her version of the events was different from his, adding to the confusion.
I called Mr. Washington when I was in the hospital. And at the time I was in the hospital, he claimed he was at a job, which he never had a job.
We've determined that you're pregnant.
Yeah.
The first thing you do is call Mr. Washington.
Yes. I said, hey, Ryan, I'm pregnant. And he said, what? I said, you heard me, I'm pregnant. He said, Miss Brown, I ain't got time to talk to you right now. And I said, why not? This is your child. And he said, how do you know that? And I said, because you goofy. I've been having sex with you.
Mr. Washington had his own version of this episode. Let me show you how he recalled the situation, and it's clear they see things very differently.
Assertion. You're saying when she told you she was pregnant, you immediately said you weren't the father because you knew of other men and you said the whole neighborhood knew?
She was not in the hospital.
I was 6 weeks
She
pregnant
was not
when
in the
I told
hospital.
you. Yes, I was.
This was, when she told me she was pregnant, it was almost too late. And at that point, that's what made me have the doubt. Because I said, well, the whole neighborhood knows you. So how can you be so sure that I'm the one that got you
You're
pregnant?
lying.
Next came the conception calendar. This was meant to offer some clarity, pinpointing the timing of the pregnancy and potentially resolving the confusion.
Count back, you say in September and October is when you were having sex consistently with Mr. Washington. Yeah. Count back 6 weeks, window of conception, September, October, you fall right within the time. Further, DeAndre's birthday is July 3rd.
Yes.
All of this makes sense to you.
Yes.
And so you did the math and you said, this is the person I was intimate with consistently for the months of September and October. That's why I believe Mr. Washington is DeAndre's biological father.
Well, quite convincing, right? The calendar seemed like a solid piece of evidence, but still, questions remain.
That's accurate, Your Honor, because during this time, before Miss Brown got pregnant and through her whole pregnancy, Terriana was dating another gentleman. His name is DeAndre, the same name as the kid. DeAndre, the baby, he is a junior.
Other man, Mr. DeAndre Gray Sr., he was DeAndre's biological father.
No, I never told
That's
him
a lie.
until
Yes, you
after
did.
I
and
told
when he contacted
him no.
me, that's what he
All
said.
right.
Then why was the baby named after someone else? That raised even more suspicion, as it didn't fit with the narrative Miss Brown was pushing.
Statement from DeAndre Gray Sr. I'd like to read. Yes. Says, at first, I thought I was the father because Terriana, the doctors have told me I couldn't have kids for many years. I thought I was the father because Terriana told me I was. But I just asked you a minute ago, did you ever tell DeAndre Gray Sr. he was the biological father? And you said no.
The other guy, however, had this to say. He presented his side of the story, which only complicated matters further.
No, I'm serious. Take a minute, think about it, then tell me the truth.
Because I had no I told DeAndre Sr. that he was the father because I had no help.
He ain't the only one.
There we go. Listen, we didn't come all this way to lie. This handsome child is 4 years old.
Yes.
Still dealing with a question of paternity over his head. We didn't come here to lie.
No.
So if that's the truth, then say it.
Yes,
the truth is you did tell DeAndre Gray Sr. he was the biological father.
Yes.
Lies like these definitely call for the true slap of results. The court was clearly heading towards some sort of resolution, but it wasn't quite over yet.
It has been determined by this court. Mr. Washington, you are the father.
But late for it, the paternity session is not done yet. The judge had more to uncover before giving a final decision on this dramatic case.
You said to me that once he rejected you when you told him this was your child, you said, I didn't want to be alone.
Yes, I did.
And even wrong, right, or indifferent, that was your truth. And I knew that. And even though you have weaved a web of hot messness, I mean, really, this has been a mess. For 4 years, this child has suffered for no reason. This did not have to happen. It's because he couldn't come to court and you were scared to be alone, and now the child is suffering for it.
Miss Phillips' mother was in court because of her grandmother. The family dynamics were already complicated before the case even started.
Phillips, you claim that you are certain the defendant's deceased son, Philip Daniels, is the father of your 3-month-old daughter, a miracle phenomenal Daniel.
Yes.
You believe today's results will prove what you already know, that a miracle is her grandchild. Is that correct?
Yes.
On the other hand, Grandma at the altar was not ready to believe it. She stood firm in her belief, casting doubt on the entire situation from the start.
You claim that the plaintiff is both a liar and a cheat. You say your doubts began the moment your son told you himself that he was not the father, and you are here today to defend his honor. Is that correct?
Yes, I am. Because she knows she's a liar and a cheater.
The baby mama, right in the beginning, disclosed her intentions like this. She made it clear that she was determined to prove her side of the story.
My daughter needs the death benefit her father.
Your child is in need of support,
And I can support her myself. I have a job.
You say he's not the father. Why don't you believe Miss Phillips' daughter is your son's biological child?
Because he said it. He called. She brought another guy to my house. He answered the phone plenty of times where there was another young man on the phone talking to him.
Next, we found out about Miss Phillips dabbing and dabbing around. She wasn't exactly forthcoming, which made the situation even murkier.
You believe Miss Phillips may have been dipping in that.
Because I was there that time when she had brought a young man to my house and he got very upset and they was bickering over the phone and stuff like that. So he hung up and he was asking her like, so who was this guy? And she was like, ain't no guy called my phone. That wasn't no guy. So he went back to the number. She was like, well, I talk to him every now and then.
That man was about 40-some years old. What I'm gonna do with
That
him?
was another lie.
Miss Williamson also claimed that her own son doubted paternity. This added a new twist to the case, making it even more uncertain.
Williamson, you say his response is she's claiming she's pregnant by me.
Right.
First, he didn't even believe she was pregnant.
No.
What does he say to you?
He told you that he don't believe that it's his child.
And why did he tell you that?
When?
Because she been dipping and dabbing.
When?
Miss Williamson, did he ever find out that she had slept with somebody else?
Yeah, because she told him.
And the grandma also brought proof to the court. She presented evidence she believed would clear things up, but it only seemed to complicate matters further.
I never said he wasn't
So
the
I
father.
gotta. So you never said that he wasn't the dad.
What is that?
A fake page that they made when
you
I
don't
was
say
first
I made this
pregnant.
page.
Jerome, hand me that. This is a post from Risa Phillips. Lil Phil, not my baby daddy. Somebody help me find who my kid's daddy is, please.
So all of this loser made Judge Lake go like this. The back and forth between the family members left her visibly frustrated, but she wasn't backing down.
This is ridiculous.
I don't like her.
We can tell that.
I don't like her.
The baby, a miracle.
Exactly.
That's who I'm here for.
And that's exactly what she is.
Because you all can go and her talking about I don't like her either. That's petty and that's silly because it has nothing to do with a miracle. Nothing. Because she's already here. She's already a living, breathing person.
Which did not just end there. The drama continued to unfold as more people were called to the stand, each adding their own perspective.
Already at a point where we have a tragedy. This young man lost his life. Your son has lost his life. If this baby is his, so now you don't care.
Now you don't care. What's baby by, period?
No. But hold on. Too many people talking.
After this, Judge Lake called up Miss Williamson's other son as a witness. He also believed that his brother was being deceived, adding another layer to the confusion.
Mr. Randall, so your brother did have doubts that he expressed to you explicitly that he didn't know if this child was his biological child.
Yes, ma'am. But, you know, we all have our doubts, so that's why we're here now.
Mama,
so
baby,
we can get
Papa's
to the
baby.
bottom of this.
So the stakes are very high for this baby. If your son is her biological father, she'll never know him.
Correct.
So let's wrap this drama up with results. After all the twists and turns, Judge Lake had to bring the case to a close with a decisive conclusion.
In the case of Phillips versus Williamson, when it comes to 3-month-old, a miracle, phenomenal Daniels, the percentage of relatedness between a miracle, phenomenal Daniels, and Toya Williamson is 99.8%. I told you.
I know exactly who my baby daddy is.
You're in my chambers. This case here is a downright mix of disaster, and it's about to push Judge Lake to the edge.
You confess that at the time you conceived your 2-year-old son, Josiah, you had sexual relations with 3 men. Now, you don't want your son to suffer for your mistakes, so you've requested paternity testing on all 3 men.
Yes, Your Honor.
So now that we know what all the signs were claiming, let's find out how it all started. Backstory is crucial to understanding the mess that's unfolding.
At the time, I had sex with 3 different men around the same time my son conceived. I did have a 5.5-month fling with Mr. Scott.
It was just sex, period.
That's what a fling is.
Not to me.
Okay. Mr. Sneed is in green, and then outlined in red, as you can see, is the window of conception.
How much did he pay?
Excuse me, Mr. Scott. You're gonna be respectful in this case.
And Hatcher tried to explain her fling in such a good manner. She also got a taste of Lauren's medicine. Her attempt at smooth talking didn't go as planned.
This is him. He is a disrespectful man. He is very ignorant. He's all that to me and my son.
You admitted in court today that you had a 5.5-month fling with a gentleman that can look across the aisle at you and ask you, how much does someone pay for your sexual services?
That's the reason why I wasn't with him, Your Honor. That's the reason why after the 5.5 months, I seen
5.5 months is too long.
However, Mr. Scott also had his own side of the story lined up. He wasn't going to let Hatcher take all the spotlight without sharing his version.
Because she said out of her own mouth, DNA test. I didn't know nothing about her situation. When she came and told me she was pregnant, I believed.
Baby was born. Were you in the hospital?
Yes, ma'am. I was there for her.
And did you sign the birth certificate?
Yes, ma'am.
When did you begin to doubt whether or not you were?
She said in open court, we need to get a DNA test.
That's the first time
that I ever heard
paternity.
Question when she mentioned DNA.
Stop.
Further, this got disclosed to the court. As new details came out, the case only seemed to get more tangled.
Your Honor, do you know that this is the second lady, Your Honor, that has come to me, told me that I am the father of her child?
It is clear why there's doubt in this situation. That is a fact. All these men are doubtful. Mr. Blake.
Yes, Your Honor.
Did you sleep with Miss Hatcher on the 26th of December? That's the day after Christmas.
We got a hotel room that night. Possibility, if it's mine, I don't have a problem with taking care of mine.
Was it protected sex on that day?
We had a little alcohol, but I think so, Your Honor.
And harder to untangle. Next, Hatcher told why she believed that Mr. Blake was the father. She presented a reasoning, though wasn't exactly watertight.
Now, you say you have reason to believe that Mr. Blake is the child's father.
He could be a possibility because the way my son is built, the way he's growing up.
How many people you got to test for you find out?
Okay,
as many as it takes in this courtroom. You say your son, you feel like he's built like Mr. Blake.
Well, he got broad shoulders like Mr. Blake, and his feet are flat. I really don't know Mr. Blake that well.
Well, still, what happened next has our heads scratching. The situation took another unexpected turn that no one saw coming.
I mean, with no stove, no working refrigerator. You know what I'm saying? And this man, he's homeless, and I let him stay out of my house at night. I don't want him to be my baby's father because he's 43 years old. He don't want to work.
But you slept with him without protection.
Yeah, I did.
At this point, the insults are irrelevant.
Yeah, it is.
Well, there's more of that coming. The drama continued to unfold, leaving everyone wondering how this was all going to play out.
I've already defended you.
No,
if you would listen
I'm talking about in a different way.
you would already see you're not on trial.
No, ma'am.
You don't need to defend yourself.
No, ma'am, I have children.
Don't take care of your kids. You know you don't. You don't pay child support.
I'm not demeaning her.
I'm going to let you all run your own case.
No, ma'am.
And see what kind of results you get after this, because I got the real one. So go ahead.
She still runs the place. Despite everything, it seemed like Hatcher wasn't fully grasping the seriousness of the situation.
Truth be told, when this man stepped up and signed the birth certificate, then really that should have been, that's it. Because that's what babies deserve. Their mother and their father in the hospital, when they're born, signing the birth certificate and living their life. Not 2 years later, still sitting up here arguing with eeny, meeny, miny, and no.
I'm sorry.
Talking about, we don't know this, and she did this, and he did this, talking about nothing. But given this calendar, I know why he'll have doubt.
Okay, let's see if the DNA results can step up to that hope. Everyone was waiting for the test results to finally give some clarity to the chaos.
Y'all want to go out here today and destroy your lives? There's nothing I can do. But I'm not going to sit by and watch you destroy Josiah. In the case of Hatcher v. Scott, Blake Sneed, pertaining to whether Mr. Sneed is the biological father of 2-year-old Josiah Scott, Mr. Sneed is not Josiah's father.
Now that calls for some good schooling, doesn't it? Judge Lake was ready to bring down some hard truths and lessons for all involved.
This eye rolling. I'm tired of all this, like, I don't know what I'm talking about. And you don't have to perpetuate this whole nightmare onto your child. And as long as you disrespect him, and as long as you disrespect her, then Josiah is gonna pay for it. Cause I'm gonna tell you right now, I am furious. Y'all sitting up here acting like kids. Little boy ain't got no refrigerator. And you sitting up talking this nonsense. Court is adjourned. I'll see you in
Judge Lauren Lake's most ruthless moments on paternity court.
And you were so disgusted by that I ran out the house, slipped on a banana peel, and landed in the bed with somebody else. If you want this man to be involved in his kid's life, present yourself as a person that somebody would want to be around. You say he's mistreating your child.
Yeah, he mistreats her.
Well, how do you lay down with a man who mistreats your child?
Ripped apart and still stuck in each other's hair, Miss Nazarene versus Mr. Rami's trial was a handful of dramas. Miss Nazarene brought her ex to court due to his deadbeat and ghosted status in her child's life. But the daddy testified otherwise, like this.
She's not the most easy person to deal with. There are definitely signs that were before she got pregnant.
When you say she's not the easiest person to get along with, what do you mean specifically?
Complete irrationality. The decision to be overtly angry, volatile, and violent.
The paternity rodeo begins with a relationship recap. And right in the start, it slipped out that the woman's stubbornness and arrogance drove them apart. Oof. We know that when this type of situation comes, moving out seems easy.
Mr. Rami, you claim Ms. Nazarene has done immeasurable damage to your life and career by her very difficult personality.
What happened to me being 7 months pregnant with a 1-year-old and you were gone for 3 years? Truth be told.
However, the baby mama cut him off and spilled the truth, as it seemed like Mr. Rami had always been a bonehead to her, as the defendant pursued his rap career over his family, which left mommy as a single parent.
This man has spent 17, almost 16 years ignoring his children while trying to pursue a rap career. That's the bottom line. Not trying to pursue his GED, not trying to go to college. I put myself 90 hours, 90 units through college, raising 3 children on my own. I've always done hair. This man does nothing.
By now, it was clear that both participants despised each other at the cellular level. If not, no one would normally care to act the way Miss Nazarene reacted at the young child's funeral.
My brother's oldest child and only son just died. He just turned 21, died in his birthday month.
And I also called you when you told me that, and let you know I had a $700 electric bill and your son needed to go to summer school so that he could graduate on time. So I don't care about your brother's son. You don't care about your own son. Why would I care about your brother's son? Keep it 100.
As it was evident that was a pathetic response, instead of apologizing for her inhumane actions, baby mama decided to hold on to her brutality, and she continued her scrapping. So, Judge Lake jammed her and articulated the reality like this.
If you want this man to be involved in his kid's life, present yourself as a person that somebody would want to be around. You're a beautiful lady, and I'm keeping it real with you. You accuse them of caring more about a dead child than a living child.
They care about children because they're
unnecessary.
Once again, the car part hyped up. As the testimony was moving forward, Judge Lake was getting more furious. However, while explaining the incident, the defendant revealed that Miss Nazarene knocked him out.
I take the car out there. She wants to have a discussion with me. She wants to yell and argue with me.
Okay.
I'm not going through that anymore. So I tell her that I'm leaving. At this point, I'm living with my parents. She decided to punch me in the face.
Lie. That's a lie.
And
that's a lie.
After she punched me in the face, the exact quote, I'll never forget it, which was, "Hit me."
He's a liar.
Oh my! Somebody please teach this woman to be quiet. Not taking the cue, the plaintiff could not stop interfering in the situation, which infuriated the judge, and she had to hop into the situation. Yeah, Judge Lauren, all hands up. We admit that too.
What I also get from you, though, is part of what you said today is true. Ms. Nazarene is difficult.
And I have every right to be because I'm a deadbeat. You abandoned me with 1 baby and a 7-month in the womb.
Did I ask you to let me finish?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Yeah, both man and woman needed the advice, so the judge honored herself and schooled them for their kids. I hope after this, things would have made sense to them and stopped making things worse for each other.
If there's anything that's going to infuriate a mother, it's for somebody to give a mediocre effort effort when it comes to their kids. You can stand there looking as handsome and as smart as you can be and say, I never promised her anything, I'm a writer.
Miss Nazarene was a mouth breather, and her testimony was not helping to resolve the conflict, because her rage diverted her concern from her kids to the personal problems she had with Mr. Rami. So she needed a bell to remind her of the motive she signed up for in this court.
You have got to love the children more than you hate each other.
I don't hate
You
him.
have to, and you don't even hate them. You don't have to keep barking and barking. Raise your hand in this room if you don't think she took care of her kids by herself. Who's raising their hand? Nobody, because everybody in this room knows he didn't do anything.
However, it was evident that nonstop drama annoyed Judge Lake, but nothing could stop Mommy. Oof, gotta say, she got on my nerves too, because she kept shouting to the core.
I'm gonna wrap this up because I can see right now this isn't about the kids. This isn't about the kids. This isn't about the kids because this is about condemning him. This is not gonna end today, and this is much deeper than this court can solve in this one session. I want you to consider letting him see the kids tomorrow.
Finally, Judge Lauren had to be dismissed and tried to set things up between them. She advised them to act upon one-word answers instead of a long conversation, or they might end up in another dispute.
Just say, hey, what time? That's it. And then if you could just give him a time, nothing else, and then you just say, I'll be there, and then
I have my half.
Be there. Can you do that?
Yes.
Can you do that? Yeah. Thank you.
Callous indifference to a baby girl made Miss Martin stand against Mr. Dampier in front of Judge Lake. She asserted that the defendant was the worst man who had not entirely accepted her daughter and treated her like crap, whereas the man opposed the mommy and accused her of being scandalous.
Mr. Dampier, you say Miss Martin was a serial cheater with a stable of men in her rotation. You say you have evidence that proves Miss Martin was stepping out on you, and there is no way you are Amaya's father. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
The trial began on this note. The baby girl testified through video, and Mom stated that her daughter was hurt because her daddy mistreated her like she meant nothing. That sounds disgusting.
Amaya has told me on numerous times that she's sad that her dad don't love her. She did a video testimony of how she feels.
Dad is mean because he always makes me sad.
How does that make you feel?
He always makes me sad. I'm mad because my dad always makes me sad.
That's awful.
Yeah.
It came out that he didn't treat the baby with affection and love because he felt she was not his daughter, as Miss Martin had been cheating on him. Ugh, that's awful. No child should be paying for their parents' wrongdoings.
I feel I'm not the father. Amber's always messaging guys. She texts guys all the time. So I feel I'm not the father. I mean,
you are her father, and you know it. She looks just like you. I've never cheated on you, Anthony.
Further, the defendant tried to frame his girlfriend in the deceiving part, but the plaintiff revealed that he himself was the CEO of the promiscuity, as he had not one or two, but 6 girlfriends at once. Hence, he admitted the claims.
Through our relationship, he wasn't honest. He was texting other females. He was talking to other females. He had 6 other girlfriends at the time.
So your testimony is that Miss Martin is a cheater, even though we pretty much established that you running for president in that club.
Even though Mr. Dampier confessed, he did not stop playing. He stated that he had multiple reasons for denying baby Amia. He claimed that he had caught Miss Martin red-handed. However, it sounded like he was just bluffing nasty stuff to defend himself.
One instance, she came home late, and I was messenger calling her, like she never didn't respond. And then when she come home, her hair all messed up, smelling like sex.
Wait, what?
I respond like, where you been at? She didn't have no proper excuse for where she been.
These are all his insecurities.
The man alleged that he had a shred of concrete evidence to prove that baby mama was the sore cheater. This time, he had brought the screenshots as his backup plan. As you know, guys, screenshots never lie.
Other man says, come pull up and sit on my face. I want blank for breakfast. Miss Martin says, where you at? Same house? Other man says, yup, so you coming? Yup, on the way, be there in 20. What's that emoji down there?
That was just conversation.
Miss Martin's text exchange proved her promiscuity, but this was not it yet. Up next, when Judge Lake calculated the conception date, it turned out that the potential daddy had the right doubts. But still, it doesn't give anyone a pass to mistreat a baby.
Date of intercourse, January 7th. The dates on those, the first set is January 3rd, and then the second set is January 29th and February 1st. That is right in the window of conception.
It is, but I've never cheated on you, and you know that.
Furthermore, the mommy stated that when he came to know about her pregnancy, Mr. Dampier stepped back. Meanwhile, the reason for denial from the defendant will sweep you off your feet. So Judge Lake had to stop him like this.
When I found out I was pregnant, I let Anthony know I was pregnant, and his reaction, he was not thrilled.
I had other kids. I had 2 other kids at that time.
Okay, we were having sex without using condoms. What happens when you have sex without using condoms? A baby can occur.
Though they were separated and had a lot of drama, they did not stop conducting sexual activity. This triggered Judge Lake. Yeah, Judge, we're on your side. How could a woman sleep with a man who treated her baby girl so poorly?
I wish I've never met him.
Where are you all in a relationship now? Are you still together?
I don't know. He's with me when he wants to be.
We're not together.
Are you still having sex?
Yeah, we had sex last night.
You say he's mistreating your child.
Yeah, he mistreats her.
Well, how do you lay down with a man who mistreats your child?
However, Mr. Dampier said that the plaintiff herself told him that he was not the father of her child. Later, it turned out that the defendant bashed mommy ruthlessly in front of her daughter. So out of rage, she framed another guy in the picture.
She showed me a picture of a guy and said, "This is Amaya's dad." They look more alike than me and her. They resemble each other more than we do.
And you admit you did it, Miss Martin.
I did.
So what are you trying to get from this?
And I apologized to him for that was disrespectful. Like, he had really made me mad after mistreating my child.
Wow, they were infuriating Judge Lake. And as you know, when a woman injects herself with the tease of paternity, no one can discard that. So Judge Lake gave them a reality check like this.
How do you expect him not to doubt after that? When a woman says, you're not the father anyway. Well, the man's never gonna forget that. I don't care, 365 days, 10 years from now, he'll never forget the day you said, you're not the father, unless he has a DNA test.
Back and forth accusations were not helping in solving this paternity issue. So, Judge Lauren dismissed them and asked to get those results to settle this conflict once and for all. Let's peep if DNA test results would bring any change for baby Amia.
Mr. Dampier, you are the father.
Exactly.
I'm sorry, Amber.
Perfidiousness shattered trust, as you would see in this episode. Mr. Miller dragged his trollop girlfriend into the court, asserting that Miss Troutman left him when another man came in the picture. He claimed that yet he took her back and continued their sexual relationship. But abruptly, she dropped the bomb of her pregnancy, which raised the paternity question.
Ms. Troutman, you admit to leaving Mr. Miller for another man and to having a 2-week affair. Claim you left because Mr. Miller wasn't taking care of you. You're also fed up with his mother, Mrs. Miller, and has convinced the plaintiff that he is not your baby's father.
Yes.
Baby mama said that if the plaintiff had taken care of his responsibilities and did not neglect his family, then he would not have been in this chaotic situation. She asserted that rather than the alleged father, his mommy had supported her.
Well, I wouldn't have been sleeping around with other men if he was doing his responsibility as a father and taking care of his girls and me also. He wasn't buying diapers, wipes, clothes. His mother was the man of our relationship. She put a roof over our head. She took all of us in.
As the trial proceeded, it was revealed that they had 2 children together, but the second baby was in question. The alleged dad claimed that his doubts ignited when mommy brought another man into their life right after he moved out of town.
I do have doubts.
Why?
I go out of town, and I came home, and I seen her with another guy at the Plasma Center. He was holding my firstborn. I said, who's this guy holding my kid? And she said, oh, that's my boyfriend. I'm like, really? You know, I go out of town for a week, and you already have another boyfriend.
Whereas the defendant denied the claims and told her side of the saga. It slipped out that they broke up when Mr. Miller left. So to explore for comfort and love, she started messing with some other man. Whoa, but I don't think anyone has quick service like you.
I was upset when me and him got into it. I was lonely. I was looking for some comfort. And he showed me that comfort.
Ms. Troutman, you admit that during that time, you were intimate with another man.
Yes.
Was that the only man you were with during that time?
No, that is not the only guy that I was with.
Further, Ms. Troutman stated that her relationship with the plaintiff was not a one. They always had ups and downs, and this wishy-washiness led her to mess around with other men. After this, bluffing triggered Judge Lake. Yeah, ma'am, we ain't buying this saga at all.
I got tired of the arguments between him and his mom. My kids are hearing all of this.
And you were so disgusted by that, you ran out the house, slipped on a banana peel, and landed in the bed with somebody else.
As this couple had enough drama, still it was not over. Furthermore, it slipped that Mr. Miller and Miss Troutman stooped so low that they had triplex sexual activity. That's nasty. How could they do anything like that?
There was a time we was sitting in the car and he went through her phone like we didn't know what he was doing. Or transferred some of her photos from her phone to his.
So this is an interesting fact. Miss Troutman, don't write a check that later you can't cash.
Nonetheless, things were getting nasty, and their testimony was bringing more drama into the courtroom. So Judge Lake schooled them for their good and revealed the DNA results for the closure they needed to put this dispute to an end.
You all are experimenting and enjoying life, and no, you have responsibilities. Mr. Miller, you are not her father.
Hey.
The truth.